Hi. Sorry, I forgot to unmute for a second there. So, today I kind of want to go over, I found out about this trial, and I didn't look into the facts of the case because I found the trial itself on Court TV, and so I kind of wanted to do like a first time reaction to the facts of the case from the trial itself. So I haven't looked at any news coverage of it. I haven't looked at anything about it besides seeing that the court case exists, So that way I don't know the outcome already and I'm giving like a reaction based on what I find out as I go. And that's what I'm gonna do. So this case, I'm interested in covering the case because it's about this teenager named Trinity Madison Poague, and they call her a pageant queen, and they've got like this picture of her as a pageant queen here on the photos that they're using for this court case on everything. And they are accusing her of murdering her boyfriend's son, which would be an 18-month-old. That's still a baby, basically. Like, you're not really a toddler until you're 2, right? So, so killing the baby is what she's being charged with. So, maybe there is a chance she didn't do it and she's just being accused. If that is the case, we'll see if those facts come out, but there's a high likelihood that she did do this, based on, usually you don't get charged without some sort of evidence, I think, with a case like this, like they've got to have a reason to charge her, so, right? I don't know, but anyway, so, yeah. I don't know if I'm going to spend like 4 days in a row covering this because I got to work tomorrow, so I don't think I'll have time tomorrow. But I will be in 4 different live streams, I think. Maybe more if it takes more, but at least 4, if not more. Live streams covering the trial is what I'm going to do. And then after that, maybe I'll decide if I feel like checking in on news sources about it too. But the trial happened about a month ago. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to roll my intro, and then we're just going to jump right on into this trial because it's a pretty long video. It's 8 hours and 10 minutes. And I know a lot of people do not like it when I speed up the videos, but in this case, I am going to be doing that. It might be 2 speed, 1.75, or 1.5. I don't know. We'll see as we go. But I am going to be speeding this bitch up. If you want to watch it not sped up, that link is in the description of this video for the original video by itself. If you want to go watch that without my commentary and at whatever speed you please, you can go do that there. But yeah, so I'm going to roll my intro, and then we're just going to kind of get right on into everything. And thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Alexis, also known as Lexie or Deaf Child. I was born deaf, hard of hearing. I began doing business as Deaf Child 2013, marketing 2011, sales 2009. I've earned 50 plus certifications in marketing and sales. My Bachelor of Science from Loyola University, New Orleans, with a music industry studies major and a business administration minor. Deafness runs in my family genetically. Speech is not fully accessible to me. Anyway, I'm here to bitch about whatever the fuck is on my mind. So here we go. Visit my site at noladeafchild.com.
Okay, so just kind of getting right on into everything. I'm about to just go ahead and start playing the video. The description of this video, it says that ex-pageant queen Trinity Madison Poague is accused of murdering her boyfriend's 18-month-old son. Poague's indictment accuses the former beauty queen of inflicting blunt force trauma to Angela's head and torso. I don't know if I'm saying it right, like Angelus's head and torso, which caused serious disfigurement to his liver and rendered his brain useless. So yeah, that's pretty severe. And so if she's the one, like, if she did this, like, that's real fucked up. So we're going to find out with the facts of the case and if she ends up being found guilty of this allegation. But if that's the case, like, yeah, that's real fucked up. And I don't understand, you know, how you go from, like, being seen as, like, a beauty queen to this, right? You know, like, what the fuck? So yeah, let's go. So right here, it's just got some notes on the opening statement. It's coming up, and there's a banner on the bottom that basically just says what we just read in the description of the video. I'm going to fast forward here to getting on the record, whatever this is.
The only victim representative that I have, I mean, officially, the mother is not here. We don't know where she.
It's not showing up on my top chat, so therefore I can't see it on here. But we've got Cuff You saying hi, you. Hi there. Hi to you. Hope you're having a great day. We are just watching the facts of this case. I'm figuring out what speed I'm going to watch this in. I'm going to start it at like 1.75, and if we need to go up or down from there, we will. But I am going to just kind of speed this up a bit for now. But yeah. Basically, what I can tell so far, though, is they're discussing, introducing the case as far as what we can tell, what we've entered into. They are saying the mother is not here. I'm assuming that they potentially mean the mother of the child. But let's find out.
She's at, so you know he's the only victim representative that we have under the victim's Bill of Rights. He is entitled to be in the courtroom for the full duration of the trial. And I'm sorry, I just realized that screen, my computer was broadcasting up there. So I turned it off.
Let's see if this is gonna. I don't know why Cuff You, but this chat does not like you. It's not showing up. But it said she said I was not able to watch this trial. Just searching for a live and found you. This is a crazy case. Yeah, I literally just found out about it, and I was like, wow, like because I needed to look into this more. And I want to look into the news coverage, but then I decided, let me figure out what was presented in court first, because sometimes the news does not accurately report on what happened in the court case, and sometimes it does, but I just figured let me get what was actually said in court and form an opinion off of that. I wish I could fix my chat issue because I feel gaslit whenever I say a chat in the a comment in the chat and I can't pull it up on screen because then it's like I feel like I'm talking to myself later, but whatever.
He has a right to be in the courtroom. I will tell the court that I expect him to be. I mean, he will be one of my earliest witnesses. He's in the present order as I have him listed, assuming that everybody is here and I go in the order that I want to go. He will be.
Man, 1.75 might be too fast. They are speaking kind of fast. I'm going to go down to 1.5.
The fourth or fifth witness today, you know, and then of course after he testifies, then I think there's no question that he could be in the courtroom. But I think he has a right to be in the courtroom even before he testifies under the victim's Bill of Rights. And so I wanted to address that with the court. And you know, he's not in here right now because we're going to find out if the court was going to permit that before we told him that he could come in. So that's one matter that I want to address.
All right, Mr. Gamble, what's your position in that regard?
Yeah, we object on a couple of grounds. First of all, he is a material witness, and much of what he has to say is going to be critical to this case, and for him to sit and observe and be able to fashion his testimony.
Okay, so I think right now they're debating on whether or not. So the victim of the case, which would be, you know, the surviving victim of the case, which would be the baby's father, was also a witness to the case. So they're trying to figure out whether or not they should be able to make a statement at this time. Cup, you said in the chat here that they know a lot about the case, but was not able to watch the trial. Well, here's the trial here, and if you do want to watch it without my commentary, that's linked in the description below, but I'm really glad you're here, and thanks for visiting.
According to other people's testimony, would be inappropriate. But more importantly, Your Honor, he must first have legal standing to make that claim. He is not the legal father of this minor child. He has never legitimated the child. He was not on the birth certificate of the child. In fact, the birth certificate named a different father. When the child was born, the woman who's the baby mama of this child was married to someone else. By law, the child...
Sorry, I accidentally hit the wrong button. But yeah, I'm trying to make this bigger. We'll figure that out. I'm going to try and increase this size here.
Was actually the child of that man who the woman was married to. At no time has he ever taken any legal legal action to be proven to be the legal father. Now, we're not arguing in court, don't plan on arguing that he's not potentially or probably the biological father, but he is not recognized under Georgia law as a legal kinship to this child. And if he's going to go under the Victims' Rights Act, where a father or a mother or a kin person has a right to be present during the entire trial, he's legally not that. He doesn't have
Do
the
you
right.
agree that the legal father of a child would have the right?
So right now I think they're saying, like, you know, because he's the father of the child who was murdered, but he's also a witness to the case. So they're debating whether or not his presence in the courtroom for these conversations should be related to the fact that he's a witness or to the fact that he's a victim. Because if he's a witness, he can't be present for certain statements which could impact his witness testimony, right? So that's why I think they're getting into the semantics of this.
For if the child is the deceased alleged victim to be in the courtroom?
I would still object, Your Honor, in this circumstance, given that he's a material witness.
Well,
It's very
I guess what I'm
important.
asking is, does the statute address that?
I don't know, Your Honor.
All right.
I did not know that was being brought up, so I have not looked at it.
Ms.
But I
Lamb,
can't.
does?
It's kind of not a good look on you whenever you're like an attorney and they're asking you like about the law and you're like, yeah, I don't know. And I get there's so much law that you can't be like an attorney and be expected to remember everything. But I would say that I felt like that should probably be a point that you're prepped to argue, because that's a key fact to the case, the fact that the victim is a witness. I feel like that's something you should prep for, especially if you're gonna bother arguing he shouldn't be able to be present, you know? I am still disappointed that my chat situation isn't working like I want it to. But, Cup You, yes, thank you. You said that I'll figure it out. Yes, it's still like a learning journey. I've been live streaming for a couple years now at this point. Well, almost 2 years. And I'm still trying to figure it all out. And I use OBS, and sometimes I'll hit a button and screw what I was doing up, and I'll be like, ooh. But yeah. So, yeah. But thank you for congratulating me on that. I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm still growing. I'm like a baby channel, but I've also been doing it for a minute. But also, it's like sometimes I cover some of the topics I happen to be interested in will be something other people are looking into, so then I'll get found every now and then. But a lot of my content people don't really care too much about, you know, because I go a lot about deaf issues as well as a lot of marketing stuff sometimes. So, you know, different strokes for different folks. But yeah. Like, I don't know if I would want this guy representing me or not either. I guess we'll figure out, like, as the case goes on, how well he was able to represent her. It's wild to me, but that this is the girl that is, or the teenager, or, you know, that is accused of committing this crime. Usually, whenever you hear of, like, this type of crime, it might be because the girlfriend is jealous of the mother or something like that. Like, I'm trying to rationalize what the fuck, you know, or the girlfriend's jealous of the baby for getting more attention or something, or the girlfriend doesn't want the boyfriend to have a baby with another person or something. Like, I don't know. Oh, Cup said they run several Discords and work for several creators, so I'll put you out there in the algorithm. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I think that's amazing work, because working for creators can be very difficult. And a lot of people, when you tell them that, they'll think of it as like, I don't know, I feel like people demean or devalue the work it takes to do with working with content creation. But it's actually a very valuable skill, because you have the ability to help share information. You know, but yeah, who knows, like some type of jealous or immaturity, or there's got to be something else. We'll see what happens with the facts of the case, if we can better pinpoint a reason based on what comes out. But on the surface level, without knowing, it's like jealousy has to be the top answer that comes to mind. But at the same time, it's like, how jealous could you be if you're theoretically known as a pageant queen? You would think you're like metaphorically on top of the world, right? I said world, W-O-R-L-D, but the fucking captioner did not get that right. Whatever. Anyway.
Does the statute address that?
It does, right? And I frankly should have had that statute pulled up, but I will, I can pull it up in just a moment.
Does it say the
Yes, sir.
legal
It
father?
says as a right.
So what about the issue that you have here, where there was never a legitimation action according to the defendant?
You know, now the statute certainly does not address that. You know, where there's a, you know, where there may be some issue of you know, some allegation that he's not the father of the child. But in all ways, I mean, he's had since the child was about 3 months old, he's had full custody of the child. The mother left. She was going to Mexico, and he didn't want her to take the child out of the country. She asked him, you know, if he had a problem with her taking the child out of the country, and he said, well, why don't you let him stay with me? And she said, okay. So he went and picked her up, and then basically she never.
I just want to follow whatever the rule is, okay? If I guess what you're saying is there'll be testimony that
Yes.
he has assumed the role of the father, that he's likely the biological father, but.
So is just the prosecutor speaking? Because I feel like he's not. Because the way he speaks is he's sitting there talking about, you know, we need to take care of the kid. He's not speaking as if he is building a speech to convince you somebody is innocent or guilty of something, right? It's coming off more casual, as if he is gossiping with somebody in the parking lot, in a way. Like the way he's talking to me, it doesn't seem very like organized. It's just like more of like let me tell you about this thing that happened. You know? I don't know if I'm wrong for thinking that.
But he's not the legal father. So I just want to know what the
There's
victim's.
not a, you know, judge. I mean,
Can I get the statute? What is the statute?
yes, sir.
Can you pass that up to me?
Did they just say he's the bio father but not the legal father? I'll have to process that better. I mean, I want to go back to her face. Let's zoom through this. We go back down when they start talking again. But it showed her face for a second. Oh, let's pause real quick. Ah, that is interesting. Because I understand, like, being on trial for murder has to be very stressful. Like, and you're not supposed to make any faces. You know what I'm saying? When you're on trial for this type of shit, because you're not supposed to do anything that could look as if you're trying to influence the jury. But there's just something about, like, her face, man. Like, she looks angry to me, and I don't know why. Like, if you notice, like, the downward turn of her mouth. If you notice, it looks as if there is tension in her eyebrows. Perhaps they're just shaped that way. But whenever my eyebrow, my face relax versus when I'm, like, thinking, you see the difference? So that's why, to me, it looks as if her eyebrows are like it looks to me as if she's like, her face is tense. But yeah, so we got in the comments says that the prosecutor seeming like neither attorney is with it. Right, like, I don't understand, because like, one attorney, he wasn't prepped with the law. The other attorney, he doesn't seem like he's prepared to speak right now. Or maybe he's like one of those people where they're not the best person at speaking, but the work that they do on paper is so good that they make it in the career anyway. Because some attorneys, they're really just not good at like being oral about speaking, public speaking. You know, it can be very hard, but they're really good with everything on paper, and so they still make it in their career. But yeah, she does kind of look, you know, like she looks like her facial expression reminds me of like when you get in trouble and your mom is waiting to punish you or something. That's kind of what her face looks like.
The 1779 is the specific provision.
That's what I'm reading. Let me read it and we'll go back over it.
I still have it on 2 times speed. It looks like they're looking for some information before they go for the whatever's going on the record.
Family of the victim shall not be excluded unless it is established that the victim or family member is a material and necessary witness, and the court finds there's a substantial probability that such person's presence would impair the conduct of a fair trial.
Okay.
So I guess there's a two-part question. Is he at...
It looks like they did find the legal documentation that they were looking for. Yeah. And it looks like because he is a victim, even if he's a witness, like the law that they are saying looks like victims are allowed to be included. You can't exclude a victim is what they're saying. I think, if I'm not mistaken from interpreting that. But yeah.
As the, non-legalized or legitimated father, the immediate family of the victim, and then, you do it.
I don't understand this point, the non-legitimized father. Was he like not put on the birth certificate or something? I don't know.
Agree he's a material witness, I assume.
Yes, he is a material witness. There's no doubt about that.
Well, then I guess you should address those two issues, whether he is a family member under the statute and whether there's a substantial probability that his presence would impair the conduct of a fair trial.
Under the statute, Judge, under 1717.3, paragraph 11, says victim means a person against whom a crime has been perpetrated. In the event of the death of the victim, the following relations, if the relation is not either in custody for an offense or the defendant, which he's not in custody, he's not the defendant, a spouse, an adult child, a parent, a sibling, or a grandparent. It says a parent. It doesn't define further what a parent is. What I will say is this: is that if Julian Williams is not recognized and permitted to remain in the role of the victim's representative in this case, then
Oh, thank you. See, yeah, I forget to unmute all the time because I'll be muted when I'm playing the video. Yeah, I was basically just saying that, like, it wouldn't make sense if it was a custody issue because he would still legally be the father if it was a custody issue, because I was speculating for a second if it could be that, but I do think that, yeah, like, it could be like the birth certificate thing, because what else could it be? But that's basically all I said. My bad. I hate when I forget to unmute.
this victim is unrepresented entirely with regard to this case. With regard to whether or not it would impair the conduct of a fair trial, what I will tell the court is this: is that as it stands right now, the testimony that I expect that will precede Julian Williams' testimony is essentially testimony regarding the crime scene. Okay, in other words, where the area of the dorm, that area was secured, where James Gibson from the GBI will testify about the specifics of that. There'll be some photographs, etc. Chief Lewis from GSW will testify about nothing other than the times, via video, the times that Julian Williams and the defendant entered and exited the dorm. That will be the entire substance of his testimony, will be to establish those times. And then I expect Julian Williams to be my next witness after that. So it's essentially just preliminary testimony sort of to set the scene, and that kind of thing is all that he would is all that he would be in the courtroom to hear. So I don't think that he may be a material witness. I don't think his presence would impair the conduct of a fair trial.
All right, Mr. Gamble, I'll let you have the last word.
Well, Your Honor, unless we're going to set the entire Georgia legal code on its head, it's clear that you must be legally recognized as a father. As an example, a father that's done everything in the world for a child, paid child support even in Georgia law because he's been proven to be biologically the father that is not legitimated, has no legal rights to that child at all. No visitation rights, no right to custody.
But wait, did they just say he was paying child support and everything? So how are you paying child support but you're not legally considered the father? Because wouldn't you have to legally be the father to pay the child support?
If he takes that child somewhere, he can be charged with kidnapping if he does not have permission. The law is clear.
Well, how would you like to address the substantial likelihood that it would impair the possibility of a fair trial?
Substantial likelihood is even more clear, Your Honor, in that this witness, once he testifies, even if he's the first person to testify, he's subject to recall. We would not be in favor of allowing him to be in the courtroom. And the substance of this case involves Trinity Poague being accused of doing harm to a child. There were only two people around that child at the time period they're talking about this occurred. Her and Julian Williams.
Oh, I think they're trying to flip it as if he could be the murderer.
Julian Williams is a substantial evidentiary person in this case and is subject to much more testimony than what the state may be trying to elicit, and told several different stories to the GBI during the time that he was interrogated.
Are you contending that even after he testifies he would not be allowed in the courtroom?
If he is subject to being recalled, Your Honor.
Or do you have him under subpoena?
I do have him under subpoena.
All right.
Whether he has him under subpoena or not, Judge, his subpoena is satisfied once Julian Williams takes a stand, and which he will do this morning sometime.
What's the second issue? Of course, I wish we had brought these up yesterday when we didn't have a jury
Well,
in the jury room.
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm sorry.
That's all right, but what's the second issue?
7:45 when we were done.
I know.
So,
What is the second
second issue is a very brief motion in limine regarding opening statements, and that is that the law only permits in opening statements a statement or to the jury, expectation of what evidence will be presented to the jury. And so I would object to or ask the court to instruct Mr. Gamble not to make any reference to any statements that were made by his client, by the defendant, to Samantha Fort of the GBI. And that's because he's not he can't put those statements in evidence. It's hearsay for the defendant to put in his or her own prior statements made outside the courtroom. So he can't put them into evidence. And I am not. I don't know whether I'm going to or not. I mean, I don't anticipate at this point. I don't anticipate that I will do so.
So he's saying that he wants it ordered that, like the other lawyer can't bring up statements that that client has said about this case to certain people. And I'm wondering why those specific statements wouldn't want to be outed. And would that be tied to where I thought they could be trying to pin the murder on the father? I don't know if it's the actual father or not, because they say not the legal father but the bio father, but I don't know. Okay, so are you trying to pin it on the father, or is that about something else?
So your motion in limine is for him to not put his client's statements to the GBI into evidence in open.
GBI, this, and this.
Okay, Mr. Gamble?
I don't intend to do that, John, that's fine.
And so,
Well, then I'll grant that motion in limine. What I'm going to do with regard to Mr. Humphreys is, Mr. Williams, is the, without having a definition of what
Who the fuck is Mr. Humphreys?
is meant by parent in that statute, I'm going to exclude his testimony, exclude his presence until after he testifies. Once he testifies, I'm likely to allow him to remain in the courtroom as a representative of the family, and based upon the fact that he's already testified.
You know what? I feel like that's a good compromise, because if once he's already given his testimony, then that's already done. You know what I mean? So they can't say, well, the testimony changed because it's already given. So.
All right. Are all the jurors here? All right, let's take 5 minutes, and if anybody needs to step to the restroom, let's do that, and then we'll begin opening statements.
Okay, I'm going to skip through that.
To make sure that only everyone that was going to be on the jury had to come back today. And I appreciate you being here so promptly. I have a real habit of wanting to get the jury, when I tell them to be somewhere ready to go, that we're ready to go as well. But there are going to be things that come up from time to time that we have to address before you come in. And I just want you to know that if you don't come in when I tell you I think you're going to come in, we're not out here drinking coffee. Okay, there's issues that we need to address, and we had a little bit of that this morning. Okay. I want to, before we get started on the trial, I'm going to give you some preliminary instructions, some basic principles of the law that will apply to this case. Once you've heard all the evidence and the closing arguments and the court's final instructions, those instructions will be in more detail. So these are just preliminary instructions. You have been selected and sworn to try the case of the state of Georgia versus Trinity Poague, which I introduced to you yesterday. The grand jury has indicted the defendant in this case with several offenses, including malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated battery, and cruelty to a child in the first degree. I read that indictment to you yesterday, and when this case is handed over to you at the end, you'll have that indictment with you. The defendant has pled not guilty to the indictment, and she denies every charge in it. The indictment and the defendant's plea of not guilty present the issues that you have been sworn and selected and sworn to decide. In that regard, the very first part of today's proceeding is going to be you receiving the oath of the trial jury. So I'm going to ask you to please stand and raise your right hand. You shall well and truly try the issue formed upon this bill of indictment between the state of Georgia and Trinity Poague, who is charged with the offenses of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, and cruelty to children in the first degree, and a true verdict give according to the evidence, so help you God. Please indicate that you will. Thank you. Now, the indictment is the way that the defendant is charged with committing the crimes that are alleged in the indictment, and those crimes being violations of the laws of Georgia. The charges in the indictment and the plea of not guilty are not evidence of guilt, and you may not conclude that the defendant is guilty based on the charges or the not guilty plea. The defendant is presumed to be innocent until she is proven guilty. The defendant begins the trial with a presumption of innocence in her favor, and this presumption stays with her until it is overcome by the state with evidence that convinces you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of the crimes charged. And again, you will receive much greater detail as to that burden in the final instructions. My role in this case is to determine the law that applies to this case and to instruct you as to that law. These are merely preliminary instructions, and and you'll be given instructions at the end that will address the burden of proof, will address the specific elements of each offense charge, that will address many rules of evidence and other matters that you'll get in detail. The object of this trial is the discovery of truth. During the trial, I will admit evidence according to rules of evidence. Those rules are designed to aid in discovering the truth by making sure that you consider only the best and highest evidence. These lawyers are very experienced attorneys, they're good lawyers, and they're going to make objections. They're going to advocate for their positions and for their clients. During the course of those objections, there's going to be discussion between the court and the lawyers concerning those objections. We might even have to ask you to step out into the jury room while we address some of those matters. Please don't draw any inference from that, and any of the conversation between the court and the lawyers about those objections is not evidence. That's legal, man.
Yeah, I'm just double timing through some of this shit, but once it gets back into the case and stuff, I'm going to go back to 1.5 speed.
That is not evidence in this case. And I don't want you to hold it against either party if an objection is made or if it's inconvenient that you have to step outside. Now, the trial will proceed. I'll give you sort of an outline of what to expect in the trial. The first part of the trial is the attorneys are going to make opening statements. That is where the lawyers have the opportunity. They don't have to, but they have the opportunity to kind of preview the evidence that you're going to hear in this case. Once the opening statements are concluded, the state will have the opportunity to present its case in chief. That's done by presenting evidence, calling witnesses. I don't know what the evidence is in the case because I would have heard it for the first time just like you. But a lot of times there are documents, pictures, videos. I don't know. But any evidence that is presented or any witness that is presented, the defendant will have the opportunity to challenge that witness by cross-examination or making objections, that sort of thing. But the state is going to present its evidence. When the state closes its evidence, the defendant has the option to present evidence, but she has no burden of proof and is not required to present any evidence. But if she wishes to do so, that'll be done in the same fashion. Once all of the evidence is presented, the attorneys will have the opportunity to give closing arguments. And again, the state has the burden of proof, so the state has the right to open and conclude the argument phase. During the argument phase of the trial, the lawyers will try to persuade you. They're allowed to argue the law and argue inferences and try to persuade you to one side of the case or the other. Once all of that is completed, and all the evidence is completed, and all the arguments are completed, I will give you those legal detailed instructions. At that time, you'll be asked to return to the jury room. The evidence and the indictment and a verdict form will be brought to you, and you will select a foreperson and begin your deliberations. It is very important that you pay close attention to the trial. If at any time you cannot hear or see any evidence, or if you are suffering from any discomfort or that distracts you, just inform me or the bailiff, and we will do what is needed to make sure you can hear and see the evidence. And if you need a break, we'll take that break as needed. You should consider the evidence with an open mind, and you should not reach any final conclusions until the trial is over. Do not jump to conclusions before all of the evidence is presented. And I gave you detailed legal instructions yesterday concerning your discussion of the case, your investigation of the case. I'm not going to give quite as much detail today, but I will remind you that it would be very improper for you to talk about this case with anyone or to conduct any research about this case or the law or any other matter associated with this case on your own. In that regard, you were asked to leave telephones in your car or with the bailiff. Has everybody done that? Okay, great. And I'll remind you that there may be recordings going on during the trial, and I'll assure you that none of that is going to depict you, and it's going to be very unobtrusive, and you should pay no attention to it at all, okay? Now, does anybody have notepads? Okay. You're certainly entitled to take notes, but I want to make a few observations about that. You only have to take notes. You don't have to take notes. You take notes if you want to. But if you do take notes, please do not let that distract you from paying full attention to the evidence and the witnesses. You may not share or discuss your notes with anyone until you start deliberating at the end of the case. Once you start deliberating, you can share the notes. But even then, notes are not evidence. They are only memory aids. They are not more important than your own impressions or memory of what the evidence may have been. While you could consider another juror's notes to refresh your memory, again, only in the deliberation stage, you should rely on your own memory of the proceedings. Don't be influenced by the notes of other jurors unless they're
So I'm just, going to double time through all of this for a bit.
Notes help you in determining your own independent memory. And you have to leave your notes in the jury room other than when you are in the courtroom. And at the end of all this, they'll be destroyed. So you won't get a transcript of the testimony in this trial to take with you. So it's important that you listen and take notes only if that helps you in your memory. Okay? Any questions? All right, we're going to proceed then. Is the state ready to open? Yes, sir. All right, you may proceed.
Now they're ready to open, so I'm going to go back down to 1.5 speed. And let's see.
Can I ask that chair be removed to sort of thin
Yes,
away a little bit?
blocks your view there. Yes, sir.
Nah, this is boring. Back to 2 times.
Over the next few days, what you're going to hear in this courtroom is the story of the short life and horrible death of a little boy. A little boy who at the time he died was 18 months old. He was born June 25th, 2022 to his mother Shayla Garnica in Tallahassee, Florida. His father was Julian Williams, and Julian knew that Shayla was pregnant, but was expecting the baby to be born the following week. She called him the day after the baby was born and said, "He's here now. He's been born." So Julian Williams went to Tallahassee, and they celebrated the baby, and talked about what the name.
This could explain how he didn't end up on the birth certificate. She gave birth without him present. And I don't know the details, background to all of that, but that could explain that, like why he might not be considered a legal father if he was never put in the birth certificate. And this could explain how she could have done that then, potentially.
name him and agreed to name him Jaxton Drew. Jaxton Drew Angelus, which is Shayla's. Was it like her last name? Like her I can't remember what the correct word is, but it's her last name was Angelus Garnica, and so the child was going to be Jaxton Drew Angelus. Actually, she didn't do.
I think that comes from like not every single Latin American country, but like certain countries such as Mexico have the tradition where you take like your mother's last name type situation. Perhaps it's like about carrying that on.
That she did the birth certificate. She put Romeo Angeles on there, and as it turns out, actually, you'll hear Julian Williams didn't even realize that the child's name was Romeo, as opposed to Jaxton Drew, which they had agreed on, until after he had passed away. But he went by JD. That's what everybody called him. That's what his father called him. That's what his aunt called him.
I'm confused. How do you not know what your child's official name is on the record until after he's dead? Like how? What? That part is kind of wild to me, but you know what? Maybe they didn't have the best relationship, and that could explain that.
That's what his mother called him. He went by the name, by the initials JD, and he was ultimately solely in the custody of Julian Williams. When the child was 3 or 4 months old, his mother was going to return to Mexico for something, and she contacted Julian and said, that she wanted to know if he had any problem with her taking the child to Mexico. And he said, yeah. He said, I'd rather not. He said, why don't you just leave him with me? And she said, okay. So he went to Tallahassee, and he picked up JD and took him back to Colquitt, where he lived. And when he went back to Colquitt with the child, that essentially was the end of the mother's involvement with the child. She saw the child 2 or 3 times after that, like when Julian took the child to Tallahassee to go to a doctor's appointment, whatever, she saw the child then, but she didn't keep him anymore. He didn't stay with her anymore. He lived from that point forward until his death. He lived with Julian Williams. He lived with
And arrangements and situations like this is why it's important to, as best as possible, get the legal documentation, I feel like maybe this was more of like it could be about, because they're younger, so it could be about just ignorance with the law and the impact of what these documentations mean. But yeah, like, let this be a lesson. Get every fucking thing in writing, especially when it comes to your kids.
Julian Williams and Julian's sister, Ashanti Burr, who is a little younger than he is. She's a college student now, and they lived with their mother in Colquitt. Her mother became ill. She was diagnosed with cancer. She was receiving radiation treatment, and the child couldn't be in the home with her because she was receiving radiation treatment. And so she ended up moving to another house that they owned, and so it was Julian Williams and Ashanti, his sister, and the child living there. And Julian was the sole income. He was the sole wage earner. The sole support for the family, for his mother, for his sister, and for the child. And so he worked a lot, and when he was working, his sister was the person who took care of the child, sort of on a day-to-day basis. The mother ended up dying. I don't remember exactly when that was. Sometime in 2023, Julian's mother passed away, and so it was Julian and Ashanti and JD. Whatever the original origin was of the relationship, Julian Williams became involved in a relationship with Trinity Poague, who is the defendant in this case. And she lived in Donaldsonville, lived in South Georgia, down, further south. We're in South Georgia, further South Georgia. When you're in Donaldsonville, this is North Georgia practically, where we are. But she was from there. She was from Donaldsonville, and she and Julian Williams became involved in a relationship. And you're going to hear some things about the relationship, about as it progressed. And for now, I'm just going to sort of summarize it by saying that what I think you will hear is evidence that the relationship was very rocky, that it was sort of up and down, it was on again, up again. They were breaking up on Thursday and back together on Friday, and then she was going to break up with him on Saturday, and her feelings because he broke up with her before she could break up with him, and so on and so forth over the course of many, many, many months.
So this could lean back towards the theory of like jealousy or something of that nature, or anger or something, but I still don't understand the logic there.
Trinity she was a college student. She started attending Georgia Southwestern in August of 2023. And so Julian often, on weekends when he was off work, he often would come up to Americas. He many times brought the child with him to Americas, and they stayed in her dorm, and she lived in the Oaks dormitory. She had a roommate, a young lady named Paris Kermore, who you will hear from in this trial. And so Julian would bring the child up, and they would stay with her. They would stay with her there. Throughout all of this, one of the primary sources of friction I think that you will hear about, the primary sources of friction in this relationship, and what you will hear is this, that Trinity Poague resented this child. She resented this child because the child got more of Julian Williams. Jay goes by Jay. Most people call him Jay Williams, and so if I say Jay or Julian, I'm talking about the same person. I'm talking about the child's father. But you know, the child, JD, got a lot more attention from Jay than.
I think, you know, it's good to give your child more attention than your partner, to be honest. But like, if say you were in a relationship and you really felt like your partner wasn't giving you the attention you wanted, you should leave them, not kill their child. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, that's something extremely, like, the concept of killing a child, killing anybody is fucking evil, but killing a fucking child is like a whole nother level of fucking evil. You know what I mean? Like, because, I mean, no matter what, it's like, sometimes you can understand how someone gets to murder when it comes to something like perhaps it's self-defense in the moment, and it's a life or death situation. It's like, be killed or kill, like they're gonna kill you, so you know what I mean? Something like that, I can kind of understand how, like, there's like a way to logic it there where someone would get there, but like in this situation, like, I don't understand in general. I just feel like there's always a better way. Like, if you can get out safely, just get the fuck out and go away. Like, get away from them, get away from the danger. Like, don't resort to killing. Don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And but then to kill a baby, to kill a child.
Perhaps than Ms. Poague did. In addition to that, the evidence will show that she resented the fact that she was sort of placed in a stepmother role, that wasn't the role she wanted to be.
And again, if you don't want to be a stepmom, don't date someone that has a kid.
And that she wanted to have a family, she wanted to have children, she wanted to have a child or children with Jay Williams, but not that child. She wanted her own child with Jay Williams. And you will see and hear evidence in the form of text messages and people who knew Trinity Poague and who had conversations with her, and you'll hear from them.
Wait, I want to know something though. Like, is she out on bail? Because how was her hair styled if she was in jail? How did, like, that's what I don't get. Or is her hair just like that? But how is her hair styled if she was in jail? Or did they not put her in jail?
About the things that she said, and you'll see some of the text messages that she said, and going all the way back to like August of 2023, you know, she was expressing her anger about the child, her frustration about the child, that, you know, commented in a text message to a roommate that she really would just like to punch him, you know, and it's like, well, I know that sounds terrible, you know, because he's just a little boy, but still, you know, I wish I could just punch him, and she makes those references and things like that continue.
If that is the truth, and, you know, like, I'm sure he's saying that because he must have some sort of evidence for that, otherwise, I don't know if he could just say that in court or not, like, but that's fucking wild. Who the fuck just says that shit about hurting a child? I think that's like a whole nother level of malicious to think about harming a child that way.
Throughout their relationship.
Also, if that is true, I think that does kind of back up and make it lean more towards as if, you know, she is the one who did this. Because I feel like some of what the argument was before, I was like, wait a minute, are they trying to throw it back on the baby's father? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking that.
So, coming up to the week of January 8th, January 9th of 2024, Jay Williams is here. He comes to America. He's working. He works at he'll tell you, I can't remember the name of the place, but it's in Bainbridge, and they build dams and bridges and things like that. They construct them there.
She's writing a note to her attorney. Can I kill this guy too? Just kidding.
And take them apart and ship them out and put them back together and all that. He's got a good job, and he fully supports this family and has, you know, since even before the child was born. But he would come to America sometimes, and then he'd go to work from here, you know, and then come back to Americas during the weeks. And so he was in Americas for a couple of days and stayed at the dorm with Miss Poague, and then he got a room here at a hotel, and they were going to have sort of a celebratory night, I suppose, and
this other note she's writing to her attorney is going to say, if you don't win this case, I'll kill you too, bitch.
There was some fighting going on. It's trying to make up, and you'll hear all of that evidence. But the bottom line is that he's here on and off throughout that week. And then Saturday, he leaves here on Friday and goes working, and he goes home, and so he's in call.
That's why she looked at him right after, like, yeah, bitch, I said that.
Quit. And
If there are phones in the courtroom, they need to be cut off.
I don't know where mine is, so I'm sure it's not mine. So they're there that night on Friday, January 13th. He's there. I'm sorry, it's not Friday. Saturday, January 13th. He's in Colquitt, and she's up here, and she says, somebody comes up with the idea of them meeting in Albany. Okay, so he's going to meet her in Albany. They're going to go to dinner and whatever. So he says, but I've got.
Part of what he's doing, I feel like could be a good strategy to be more relatable to the jury and to not lose them, because sometimes prosecutors, they get too technical and they lose people. But I feel like if he kept this tone and if he kept this rhythm and he kept the conversational style but maintained more of an organization, he would be even better. Because I think part of it is just like an ADHD distraction where he's trying to stay on track. Like maybe it's about like not having notes and he's going off the top of his head. And maybe it isn't that bad given that context. But I feel like if he had at least a bullet point list of the points he was going to hit in the order, it wouldn't come off as so disorganized. Because I do feel like the tone could really be good for connecting with the average person,
I got JD with me, okay? So I'm going to have JD, and Trinity Poague says, that's fine, bring JD, I want to see JD too. And so bring JD, and so they meet in Albany and go to a couple of places, go get some food, and go to Sephora, the makeup store, and some other things. And then they're leaving there, and he's going to come with her to Americas, Saturday night, January 13th, 2024. And they haven't even gotten to Americas, okay? They hadn't even gotten to Americas before she begins texting her roommate, Paris Hermort. And she says to Paris at 9:28 p.m. that night, she says to Paris something to the effect of, are you going to be, Paris worked nights, she worked nights at Magnolia Manor, and so she wasn't at the dorm. And so Ms. Poague texted her and said, are you coming back in the morning? Somehow I got stuck with JD. Okay, because JD was coming up here with his dad. And she says, he made me feel bad because it's late and JD's being fussy, so he asked if they could stay. Well, that's what she's telling the roommate. I think the evidence will be that that's not in fact what happened, because they're in Albany, right? Like, he can go back to Colquitt, which is 40 miles away, and she can come to Americas, which is 40 miles away, but she wants him to come to Americas, so he's coming to Americas, and she's complaining to the roommate because JD's going to be there, because JD's going to be in Americas with him. She texts Paris, her roommate, I say roommate, sweet mate. You'll see them breaking up. Right?
I will say those text messages, like that does seem like evidence of resentment, which would back up motive, potentially.
You go in the door and there's a sink and a bathroom and a little lobby area and then 2 rooms, okay? So she texts Paris and she says, I can't do being around JD anymore. He hates me and I hate him. Is what she's telling Paris, even while she's driving to Americas with the child in her car. She put the child in her car, and Jay was following them up here.
It's a baby. It sounds like maybe she doesn't know how to fucking take care of a child, because she's like, wasn't she a teenager herself? Like, why do I think that? Well, maybe I was reading 18-month-old son and thought it was thought 18-year-old, but I don't know why I thought she was a teenager too. But still, it's like, this is fucking wild. I need to look into that. Maybe I was wrong about that. I'll update my title if I was wrong about that, her being a teen. But yeah, like, what the fuck? Like, how are you gonna say, like, oh, a child hates me because, they're a 1-year-old, like, who doesn't have emotional regulation? Like, so perhaps the baby was fussy, but yeah, like, this is just, she's does not need to be around kids. Like, I also don't understand though, why didn't he leave her? If he knew she was this way at all, it's also his duty, in my opinion, to leave her. Because why would you keep your child around someone who speaks this way about your child? So to me, it's like you're either aware of that and there is something off about your involvement too, whether or not you actually did it, or you were unaware, and this is like, wow, holy fuck, I can't believe this person that is so close to me is saying that about my child. That would be such a mind fuck, Either way, like, it's just hard for me to process.
So they get here, and Paris wants to see the child. She's seen him. She's met him several times, when he was up here, and she adored him. She thought that he was, the sweetest little thing in the world, and so she wanted to see the child. So she says, she's gonna come over there, and she says, I want to come see my child, and Ms. Poague says, you want me to stop by your work, and Paris says, no, I'll come to the dorm in a little while. When I have a break, I'll come. And so
I wonder if that's where she got jealous. Like, when you have a baby, you're more likely to get attention from women because they'll be like, oh, look how cute the baby is, And so what if that is where the jealousy came from, would be like the attention that could be drawn from other ladies with the baby,
So she does. She goes over there a little after they get there. They get to the dorm that night, a little after 10, and then right after that, just a few minutes after that, Paris comes to the dorm, visits with the child for a few minutes, and then leaves and goes back to work. Later that night, Trinity Poague texted Paris and said, is it okay if I sleep in your room? She says, I just need a break. I need a mental break. JD isn't asleep, and Jay is knocked out all over the bed, and I didn't want to play the TV in there, etc. That's about 11:30, 11:45 or so on Saturday night, January 13th. She tells Paris, Paris says, why don't you wake him up and tell him to help get JD to sleep? And Trinity Poague says to Paris, she says, I did, and he just put him beside him and let him roll off the bed. That's what she tells Paris. I think that message was at, you will hear, 11:57 p.m. Now, the sleeping arrangements in that room where there was an air mattress, and the air mattress was blown up, and it was at the end of the bed, foot of the bed, of Ms. Poague's bed, and Ms. Poague and the child were sleeping on the air mattress, and Jay was sleeping on her bed. And so, which tells me about the child, quote.
Okay, there's something off there, because how the hell is a man gonna come sleep in your bed while you're on the air mattress with that dude's kid and it's not your kid? Like, to a point, I feel like if you decide to step into a role of stepmotherhood, you do have a responsibility to the child, right? But at the same time, when you're a stepmom, or if you're not even technically a stepmom, you're just a father's girlfriend, that's the father's child. He's the one with the primary responsibility. Like, there's something off there as well. Like, even if she's the one guilty of this murder, from what the prosecution is saying about him and his role with that, there is something off to me here. Because how are you not taking care of your child? And I understand he's the one that stepped up to still be in the child's life if the mother isn't there, potentially, based on what has been said. But just because you're there, if you're neglecting the child, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this scenario is a form of emotional neglect of a child, in my opinion. I don't know. I just, like, but now I see how he didn't recognize she was problematic, because he's being problematic. You know what I mean? He's not paying attention to how she treats his child, in my opinion. Because he's not paying attention to the child. He's trying to sleep and be self-absorbed and do whatever he wants to do. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for thinking that, but that's kind of how it comes off based on what the prosecutor is saying.
Rolled off the bed. She later clarifies in a subsequent message the next afternoon to Paris. She says, oh, well, back up. Paris says, what? Yeah? And she goes, oh, it's fine. He's okay. He's okay. He's fine. And not only does she say he's okay, he's fine, but she has her phone out and she takes some videos, some short videos of the child after the child has supposedly fallen off of the bed. And the child is sitting up and he's calm and he's quiet and looks like a normal, sleepy little kid, who's sort of playing with, moving his hands around, playing with Miss Poague, and looks for all the world just, like everything is perfectly okay. There's no bruises, there's no marks on him, there's no anything. There weren't any bruises on when he got.
So my little sister, she's actually taller than me, so she's my big little sister, but I'm 7 years older than her, and when I was 7 years old and she was a baby, my twin and I were supposed to be watching her while we were at a hotel. My stepmom was in the shower. I don't know where the fuck my dad was. And it was me and my twin. We were like 7, and we were in the hotel, and my little sister fell off of the bed when she was a baby in the hotel room, because we just weren't old enough to fully understand how to pay attention, what were we paying attention for, to be, how to, So we picked her up, everything was good, she was crying a lot, but she's totally fine. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, that shit can be dangerous, but at the same time, because I don't think she was technically 1 yet, but she was close to 1. So she wasn't like that, in terms of being a baby, she wasn't completely newborn. So she was, yeah. But, yeah, it's just like, yeah, kids can be resilient, you can drop them sometimes, they'll be alright. But I mean, obviously it's a big deal, it's, be careful and everything, don't just be dropping your fucking kids. But, like, just because a kid does fall off a bed, that doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong, they could be alright. But, yeah, I wonder, like, how this is going to come back up later. Like, could this be used in evidence, in terms of the roommate having the evidence, like, that she had resentment, or what?
Okay, like on his face or on his body, there weren't any marks. Wasn't suffering from any kind of medical condition. Wasn't in need of medical care or anything else. Okay, when he had gotten here with his dad. But she says to Paris, she goes, he's fine, he's okay. And the next day she clarifies, and she goes, well, Paris says, well, I thought you said he rolled off the bed. And she says, well, yeah. She says, but. Well, first she says, I don't know. I was asleep. Like, I don't know if he fell off the bed or didn't fall off the bed. That's what she tells Paris. A few hours after she told Paris he rolled off the bed. Then she tells Paris, when Paris asks about it again, says, well, did he fall off the bed last night or not? And she says, yeah. She says, but that was only off the air mattress. And the air mattress wasn't that far from the ground.
Okay, that's weird. Because why would you... That's a weird story change there. But that's also confusing because which is it? Because they were saying that, like, she was sleeping on the air mattress with her... with the baby. I don't know. Yeah.
And of course, you'll see there is an air mattress that's in the room. By the time the room is searched and photographed and so forth, the air mattress, before Jay Williams had left the room that Sunday morning, the air mattress was folded up, put in the closet, etc. So anyway, to get back to that night, she had texted Paris and said he fell off the bed, etc. But the child's up. She takes videos. He's fine. He's calm. He's playing. Doesn't have a mark on him. Doesn't appear to be in any distress whatsoever. He went to bed that night. Slept all night long that night. Okay? Slept until 9:30 or 10 o'clock on Sunday morning, the 14th. He woke up and... Okay, I have a 4-year-old grandson and I might do this, okay? So I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with this, okay? But this is what the child was given to eat, okay? When he woke up on Sunday morning, it was Fritos, Twisty Fritos, the swirly chips, Fritos chips, and Mountain.
I thought y'all said the baby was 18 months, though. A year and 6 months. That's a lot for just a year and 6 months, though. There's a difference between giving a 4-year-old some chips and a 1-year-old. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but... because, you could let a toddler snack on, like, goldfish and chips a little bit, but, like, I don't know, I'm feeling extra judgmental right now.
Mountain Dew, in his sippy cup, okay? But that's what the child has, and the child is sitting in a chair. There's one of the...
Mountain Dew? Okay, my grandmother used to put coffee in our sippy cup when we were, like, 4, but Mountain Dew in a 1-year-old sippy cup is kind of fucking wild to me, just on concept.
It's like saucer-style chairs, like... big round thing sits on a frame, and the child...
And this is why that fucking kid had so much energy. They're like, I don't know why this kid's so fussy. Bitch, you put Mountain Dew in their fucking sippy cup. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh my god. The jokes write themselves.
I was in the chair, put in the chair, and is sitting there eating Fritos and drinking Mountain Dew and watching TV, and everything is fine. Jay Williams left. They were going to get lunch. He ordered pizza, okay? He left the dorm, and you're going to see a video. It just shows him, there's a few seconds of the video, but it's just video from the dorm, and you'll see, like, you'll be able to make notes of the times that people came and went at the dorm. But he left, I think it was 11:55, 11:56, or something like that, Sunday morning, to go to Walmart to get some drinks, and to go pick up a pizza for food. When he left, his son was in good health. He was gone 35 or 36 minutes. As he was coming back, he gets a call from Trinity Poague, who says something to the effect of, I don't know what happened, he's not breathing. And so Jay Williams pulls up to the dorm, and he goes into the dorm, and you'll see him, he's got a Walmart bag and a Pizza Hut box in his hands, and he goes through the door, and when he gets to the room, she's holding his baby.
Why the fuck wasn't 911 called?
And he said the child appeared to be in great distress. He tossed the pizza on the bed, he dropped the Walmart bags on the floor, and picked the baby up, and he took off. He rushed out the door with the baby, headed to Phoebe Sumter, to the emergency room. The child was so sick at that point that the child was...
And here's another reason I think she's trying to pin it on him, because something's wrong with that baby. The ambulance should already be on the way. You should already be calling, like, why is... And so then having him be the one to take the baby in, you know what I mean? Like, is she trying to pin it on him? That's all I want to know.
Throwing up on him, threw up on him. May have started throwing up when he was in the room. I think what you hear is Jay Williams will testify. I mean, there's some evidence the child might have thrown up, like as they were going out the door. You know, Jay Williams will testify that he doesn't really know when he started throwing up, but it was like in the car. It was when he, threw up on his clothes, etc. Gets to the emergency room. Not really. They take the child in. The child is in grave distress at this point. There's no pulse. He's not, no heartbeat, no blood pressure, no breathing, no anything. And they take the child and start performing CPR, and I'll try. They were going to life flight him out to Dr. Busman.
Now she's writing her attorney, when this case or your kid is next.
Who will testify in this case? Dr. Busman. That's right. He made arrangements with Eggleston Hospital in Atlanta, the Children's Hospital in Atlanta, for the child to go up there. They made arrangements. They were going to fly and helicopter the child out, life flight to Eggleston, as soon as they could get him stable. They never were able to get him stable enough to fly. A little after 4 o'clock, about 3 hours after he had gotten to the hospital, J.D. Angelus took his last breath. This child, that when
Okay, that's real sad.
he came to Americas from Colquitt on Saturday, didn't have a mark on him, didn't have any injury, wasn't in any distress. When Jay Williams left to go to pick up pizza, the child was sitting up, eating, not in any distress, didn't have a mark on him. But by the time the child got to the emergency room, after spending 35 minutes in that room with Trinity Poague, this is what the child had. He had fresh bruising on his face. There was a fresh bruise, a visible, immediate, sort of immediately.
Now I see why he was bringing everything up before, because that would show there was evidence that the child was fine at this time period, which would have been the night before, right? If I'm not wrong on that. So what could have happened between then and then? And then from here, yeah. So I can see how it is all coming together now. At first I was thinking it's kind of disorganized, but actually it just took a minute to get to the point, and I don't think some people have the attention span to do that, but if you can focus, it's like, oh, wait a minute, this makes sense now.
Visible bruise on the right side of his forehead. There was a bruise on the right side of his neck. There was a bruise on his cheek. There was a much bigger bruise on his other cheek. And you'll hear some testimony. You'll hear some testimony from the medical examiner and maybe others about what kind of bruise this was. This is what they call a pattern bruise. Okay, it's something that when a medical examiner, somebody who's trained and experienced, looks at it, they say, I know what caused that bruise, because it's like a bruise and there's a little break, and in the skin, whatever was not bruised, and there's another bruise, and it's called a pattern bruise because it's something that is known as the kind of bruise you get from a hard slap to the face, or from this kind of a thing, this kind of a pinch to the face. So there's that bruise on the left side. He's bleeding from his brain. There are bruises, multiple bruises, 4, 5, or more fresh bruises on the top of this child's head. Okay, here and here.
Are they going to try to blame it on the kid falling off the bed? I'm just wondering, because if that is the case, then those wounds would not match up, in my opinion, to a singular fall. So we'll see if they try to throw that out there.
Here and here and here, and in the temporal parietal region, which I think means right here, okay, and up here at the top of his head. And that's not all. On the back of his head, this bone right here, at the bottom of the scalp, the bottom of the skull, okay, that sort of dish shape that kind of goes in, okay, sort of naturally protected by your shoulders and by the crown of your head. This bone here at the bottom of his skull, the occipital bone, is fractured. Not only is the occipital bone fractured, but he has a massive hemorrhage at that location at the back of his head. A hemorrhage that was causing a hematoma collection of blood that was so fresh and so immediate that the people at the emergency room are like, you can feel it. You can put your hands on it, you can feel the blood built up right here at the back of JD's head. That is an injury that I believe the evidence will show is referred to as catastrophic. It's an acute injury. It's not an injury that happened hours before or days before. It's not an injury that could have happened the night before. It's not an injury that could have happened, realistically, it's not an injury that could have happened from a child falling off of a bed or falling out of a chair or anything else. It's an injury that essentially requires applied force to that particular part of the
Yeah, like you can't, that literally, in my opinion, requires intentional, directed, like, force, because, yeah, like, this is wild.
Head. And it's an injury that could literally only have occurred within a few minutes' time before this child was presented at the emergency room. Couldn't have happened last night. Couldn't have happened 4 hours ago, or 5 hours ago, or even 2 or 3 hours ago. It can't be, to the moment clear about when the injury occurred, but I think what you would hear across the board from the medical testimony in this case, you're going to hear not only from the medical examiner, but you're also going to hear from both of the treating physicians that treated this child at Phoebe Sumter Medical Center, at the ER, in the emergency room. That's Dr. Busman and Dr. Olek. And they're going to say, that injury didn't happen before. That injury had to have happened in a very brief time, just a few moments before the child presented at the emergency room. And believe it or not, that's still not all. In addition to the multiple impacts, the multiple points of impact, the multiple injuries that was causing his brain to bleed here and here and here and here and here, in addition to that, J.D. Angelus had a massive laceration of his liver, okay, which is down here, this part of your back, that's where his liver is. And there's a massive laceration of the liver. And the laceration of the liver is to the right lobe of the liver. In this case, the lobe of the liver that
I don't understand how a child would have all of these injuries unless the child was attacked.
Basically is away from the front of the body. Okay, not it happens from falling forward or landing on the front part of your body. It's an injury that's off back here. It's causing him to bleed profusely in his abdomen.
And with the timing of all of this, like, if the father of the baby has the Walmart receipt and the evidence of being at Walmart when the time of these events occurred, and they had the medical doctor's testimony on when the injuries could have occurred, which aligns with where he was at Walmart, that even more solidifies her as the perpetrator of this crime, in my opinion.
Abdomen. The evidence will be, the medical testimony that you'll hear is going to be pretty clear about that this is not the injury that killed the child. Okay, the injury that killed the child is the injury to his head. There's really not going to be any medical dispute about that. But there's nonetheless a massive laceration of the liver. It's not a chronic condition. It's not a condition that could have built up over time. It's not blood that would have collected over some long period of time. Okay, it's an injury that occurred acutely, that occurred sometime in the minutes or hours before the child was at the emergency room. Some of the injuries, like the bruises, for instance, what the testimony will be is that they're acute, they're fresh. But nobody can really age a bruise, okay? They can't look at a bruise and say that bruise is less than an hour old, okay? An hour-old bruise doesn't look much different than an 8-hour-old bruise, okay? The one injury, really the single injury that can really be aged in this case, that the doctors can take a firm position and say this injury had to have occurred in this time frame, was the catastrophic injury to the fracture of the occipital bone, the hemorrhage, and the occipital bone was fractured so hard, okay? The extent of fracture was significant enough that it caused the skull, this child's skull, to separate, okay, on this side of his head. Okay, like, everybody's seen pictures of skull, skeletons type of thing, the skull is 4 or 5 different pieces, okay, and those pieces you hear they're laced together, okay, like the bone of the skull laces together, okay, it's something called, the one that's in question in this case is called the lambdoidal suture, okay, and the suture is just where the pieces of the skull join together, okay, and the impact to the back of this child's head was so severe that it caused the lambdoidal suture, which is up here on the scalp, caused it to separate. Okay, that's the injury that can be dated in time. But the others, the bruises, the injury to the liver, are all consistent with that same time frame, and the evidence will be, that they're all acute.
I wonder how they're able to date that. But also, it's like, so I crashed a motorized gas bike going about 30 miles per hour, and I was wearing no helmet, and I applied my face to the concrete, and I did that in 2019. The amount of force it takes to break somebody's bones this way, and to think about a baby experiencing that pain, any person experiencing, but the fact that you're doing this to a baby, what the fuck would a baby ever do to you? Like this, it's a different type of malicious, a different type of evil, and something that I cannot wrap my mind around.
They're all fresh, and you're going to see pictures of this child from just a few hours before where there aren't any of these injuries, okay? There aren't any of these injuries on him. There's no injuries to his face. There's no marks on his face. There's no knots on his head. There's no swelling of his abdomen. There's no vomiting. There's no illness that occurs or is associated with head trauma. The only time that that is present is at the conclusion of what was essentially the last 35 minutes of this child's life, when he was in the sole company of the defendant, Trinity Poague. I'll tell you what evidence they don't have. It's not gonna hear. I don't. Nobody saw what she did. Okay? Nobody saw what she did to inflict these injuries. Okay?
You know what? I have another question though. I wonder if the, because a laceration is a cut. If the baby had a laceration, I wonder if it is possible to somewhat age lacerations based on the amount of blood loss.
There's not a video from inside of her dorm room, and I think you may hear, some hypotheses. Could this have happened? Could that have happened? Could this have caused this injury? Could that have caused this injury? And so forth. But the bottom line is, nobody knows for sure what happened, except that J.D. Angeles was the victim of severe and sudden head trauma and abdominal trauma. Something that they will, I think that the phrase that you may hear from one or more of these doctors.
And here's another thing. Say there was a world in which it was the baby's father that actually did these crimes and is trying to pin it on her. Why would she have not gone to the authorities when he went to Walmart? Right? So that's another thing. It's like, that leads me to believe this, like, all of these facts already have me, like, it's like we're just into the prosecution statement. And I usually, when I watch cases, because I watch a lot of cases, I don't form such an opinion so soon in, because I'm usually like, let me look at the evidence before I determine what I'm going to believe. But just on his statements alone, like, if there's evidence for what he said there's the evidence for, like those text messages, etc., like if those things are true, then holy fuck, I'm over here like, damn, there's just no way to me already that she's not guilty. And I'm wondering if the whole jury is thinking the same fucking thing.
Is something called inflicted trauma, okay? Inflicted trauma as opposed to accidental trauma. There's some earmarks, there are some distinctions that the clinical presentation of a patient, there's some distinctions between patients who present with accidental injuries and patients who present with injuries that are the result of inflicted or applied trauma.
I'm going to be right back, but I'm going to let this play while I go. Be right back.
You're going to hear the story of the last few days and the last few minutes of J.D. Angeles' short life. And you're going to hear about the details of this horrible death. And ultimately, when all the evidence is in and the case is closed, I'll come back and talk to you again. And what I will ask you for then is simply this: that as a jury, that you collectively say, we are going to hold accountable, we are going to hold responsible the person, the only person, who could have inflicted these injuries on this 18-month-old baby. And the way you will show that accountability and make that finding of accountability and responsibility is by returning a verdict of guilty on the charges that the state has brought against this defendant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Are you all still comfortable? Does anybody need a brief recess? Okay. Mr. Gamble for the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I told you yesterday morning, my name is T. Gamble. It's my privilege today to represent Trinity Poague. You've heard what the state
like, in my opinion, like, there are certain cases where I understand where you're like, it's my pleasure to represent somebody. And say you're representing somebody who has done a shit ton of good work for the community, and you just know without a doubt they're not guilty. And say it's like, you know, just a case where you are very positive you're going to be able to, there's just the evidence is just definitely on your side, right? Then I think it would be maybe appropriate to start off your case this way. But in this case, this is sensitive. Read the room. Like, maybe he's doing that to try and do some mental gymnastics to associate her as if she's someone worth representing. But, so that, you know what I mean? But, like, I don't know. I felt like that comes off as if it's not genuine.
The state says the evidence is going to show in this case, and it will not be surprising to you, I don't think, that we disagree with at least some of what the state has to say as to what this evidence is going to show. Now, there are certain parts of the evidence we will all agree on. There's no question about that. But I'm going to tell you what we believe the evidence is really going to show you about this case. You're going to see that this is a case that the state has made that is filled with suspicion, but is completely empty of evidence. You're going to see that this case is not about a young 18-year-old girl who was dating a 23.
So the state has, I believe, and even though they don't have the direct evidence of what happened in those events, I think they have enough circumstantial evidence to still prove their case and make one. I think he's trying to say because all of their evidence is circumstantial and isn't direct proof of what occurred at that time, the circumstantial evidence doesn't necessarily correlate to what they're saying. But that's a hefty claim to make unless you can really prove other context for that circumstantial evidence, and then maybe be able to prove it's taken out of context. But still, it's pretty damning, and it does, in my opinion, already provide evidence of resentment on her part of the child, which doesn't look good. But you know what? It also didn't make the father of the child look good either, because they kind of did make him, for lack of better words, like, not necessarily a deadbeat, but like, I guess, like, kind of almost like a deadbeat attitude, but not necessarily, because the way he's, you know, trying to put the caretaking of his child onto his girlfriend. And I get he's being left with the child by the baby's mother, but it's like, if you don't want the child, then figure out something else, a better life for the child. Don't do this to it, right? Like, so, you know, I don't know. Let's see what they say.
3-year-old man, and in some reason or another, caused great harm to an 18-month-old child. Because you're going to see from the facts of this case that this case is about a victim. Not just one victim, but two victims. One victim is readily apparent. That's JD. This is an 18-month-old child that had tragic injuries. There's no question about that. But the second victim sits at this table, right here, right behind me.
Oh no, that he just lost their case. How the fuck are you gonna call her a victim? She's a victim of having a child forced on her, and that child is dead now. Like, what? No. That does not look good. This is a shitty lawyer, in my opinion. Like, holy fuck, I can't believe he just said that. Yeah, no, she's not a fucking victim. Is he trying to act like, oh, she's falsely charged? I think you need to prove that the charge is false before you make such a claim. Cause, yeah, no, that don't look good.
That victim is Trinity Poague, because she has been accused of crimes she did not commit, based upon speculation that is incorrect. Because you're going to see from the evidence that what...
That's not speculation, though. Having circumstantial evidence isn't speculation.
Occurred here is nothing to do with Trinity Poague's hands, nothing to do with any violence she would have ever have done toward the child. The evidence is going to show you that Trinity Poague was 18 years old at the time she was accused of this crime. She had graduated from high school the spring before that. She had graduated...
Okay, so that's why I thought she was a teenager. She was 18 when, at the time, she was committed the crime, is what he just said.
Graduated with honors. She had received a scholarship from the Jimmy Carter Scholarship Program. She agreed to come to Georgia Southwestern under that scholarship program to get a degree in nursing. She had just completed her first semester of school, making straight A's, when it began the second semester in January of 2024. Now, when she first entered Georgia Southwestern back in August of 2023, she had a relationship. The relationship of boyfriend-girlfriend with Julian Williams, who you've already heard a little about. Julian Williams is 23 years old. She's 18. This relationship, as has already been described and we acknowledge, was volatile. It was an immature relationship.
Yeah, I feel like 23 and 18-year-old isn't, it's like that cusp, you know, where it's like only a 5-year difference, so it's not like you can necessarily claim that he's like a predator, but I do think it's still enough, because when you are 18, you do have a high school mentality, because you're just out of high school, and that's your environment, that's what you know. For the most part, highly generalizing. But, you know, so I do feel like a 23-year-old should not be trying to mess with, they need to be messing with somebody that's on their mental level, not with a teenager who's just fresh out of high school. Like, get with someone in college at that point, you know, that's been in college. Like, I don't know. So I feel like that's like an iffy area. Is it necessarily immoral at that point? Maybe not. But does it highlight to particular immaturity on the 23-year-old part as well? Yes, but we've already seen that. Based on the evidence that the prosecution has said, I don't think it would have been possible for him to have done this crime, though, because he would have been at Walmart. So, who is she going to blame this shit on then?
One in which they argued and fought and broke up and got back together and broke up and got back together. The breakups were usually on an hour or two, fussing over text messages or whatever. But you will see from that evidence, and all that you will hear from the courtroom, that Julian Williams was a controlling boyfriend. He wanted to know everything.
None of that though, that just looks as if you're disparaging the actual victim, because none of that, in my opinion, at this point, gives us a reason as to how she didn't kill the baby, you know?
About what Trinity Poague was doing. He wanted to know the passwords for every bit of her social media, Snapchat, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it may be. He wanted complete access. That when he text messaged when he was away, he wanted a response immediately. He wanted to know that she was not going anywhere when she was in college where she would talk to other men. He did not want her to do anything. He was the controlling factor in their relationship. But at the same time, Trinity Poague at the time thought she was in love with Julian Williams. And so as time went on...
Is their argument going to be he made her do it? Is that the argument?
From August until January, when this event occurred, Julian Williams would come to see her at Georgia Southwestern College and spend the night quite often. He spent every weekend, virtually every weekend with her. And most days he spent at least a couple of times during the weekday with her. And almost all of those times when he did that, he was alone. Now, Trinity knew that he had a child. The child was JD, that you've already heard about. When she first started dating him, that was in June of 2023, the child was approximately a year old. She did not meet JD immediately. She met JD later. But when she did meet JD, Julian was fine and dandy with her taking the child off by herself and doing whatever she wanted to do as far as shopping or things of that nature, because he knew that Trinity had experience with young children. Because Trinity, from the time that she was 11 years old until she was 18, had babysat for numerous people in Donaldsonville, numerous times, would take care of their children. And oftentimes the children she took care of were of the age of JD, under a year to a 2-year-old child. And so she was well secure in doing so. And you're going to see that most of the time, though, the child was not with JD, was not with Mr. Williams, who's known as Jay, because he would leave the child with his sister. As you heard already, he and his sister were living together. In reality, his sister was caretaker of this child. Mr. Williams didn't take the child with him unless he had to. You're here on the time of the weekend he had the child here on January was because the sister all of a sudden couldn't keep the child. When he came on the weekdays, he didn't bring the child with him. When he came on the weekends, for the most part, he didn't take the child with him. And when he did bring the child, he would give the child to Trinity to take care of. I believe you'll hear testimony that Trinity was the one that bathed the child, clothed the child, got the child ready for bed. If you see any photographs or any videos that are introduced of the couple, you'll see that Trinity's normally holding the child.
See, I've already agreed that the evidence did lean that way, because, you know, that does align with what the prosecution was basically saying. But at the end of the day, none of what he's saying negates what the prosecution said either so far at this point, in my opinion. And none of this negates or excuses what she has said in writing about the baby. And that, in my opinion, backs up motive. And you put that along with where they have the medical opinion as well as the possible proof of Walmart receipts that exist that this man was not there at that time because he was at Walmart. If that was the case, then the receipts would exist. And so, from the Walmart receipt, the medical opinion being able to date and time the estimation of the injuries, and the messages proving that she resented the baby, all of that combined, and the fact that the baby was with her in that window, it doesn't look good for her. And he's addressing all of these other surrounding factors of the relationship without breaking the theory on this issue right here, which is, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, I don't give a fuck about the rest of that anymore. We've already seen and can agree that that's tumultuous, but I feel like he's arguing, oh, because it was a tumultuous relationship, she didn't do it. That doesn't mean shit. Like, let's separate that. I felt like when the prosecution was bringing up that history, it was to set up the surrounding event so we could understand how they got together and how everyone went from point A to point B. But here, it's as if they're bringing up the surrounding event to say, well, because these things happened, she's not guilty. And I don't like the framing of it. I just feel like it makes her look worse. And if she did have a legal defense, he's fucking it up by the way he is making her look more guilty, because he's not addressing the legal defenses. Instead, it looks as if he's kind of blaming the situation on the surrounding events almost.
She took care of it. It's an indication Mr. Williams expected someone else to take care of the child. Now, the child had an unusual circumstance, and that was born to a mother that has now given the child up to Mr. Williams. Excuse me. Mr. Williams is not recognized as the legal father of the child. He's not legitimated the child or done anything to have a court declare that he actually is the father, but we're not really arguing about whether or not he's the biological father. But when the child was born, the lady was married to someone else who's not in the picture as well. But the lady that gave him up, just told her to come get him, has not seen the child since she gave him to Julian Williams. Now, Julian Williams has had a child.
That is why he's not the legal father. In certain states, if you have a child out of wedlock, if you're married to someone but you have a child with someone else, then in certain states, they'll legally consider your husband the legal father of the child, even if they're not the biological father. And we saw that with the whole Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Ken, and Ryan dispute. Yeah.
For about a year or more. And during this time that he's had this job, not one single time you will see from the evidence has he taken the child to the doctor. Not one time. For your normal checkups, for your normal monthly and quarterly, and all the things that you do for young children. None at all. And you're going to see, in addition to...
And mind you, I already said I think he's a deadbeat dad. But are you saying, is he implying that because this man is neglectful in general, he's the one that murdered the baby? I think him being a neglectful piece of shit would explain how he didn't spot the red signs. The red flags. Like the, you know what I mean? Like the alarms. And how it ended up into this situation. I don't think that it's necessarily evidence that she didn't do it. You know what I mean?
Failing to do that on the weekend that is in question in this case that's been talked about, in which he came to see Trinity. This was an unexpected visit with the child. It was an unexpected visit, but Trinity did not know the child was coming, did not mind that the child was coming, but was not prepared for the child to be there. As an example, would not have had food at the dorm for the child, that type of thing. But that when Mr. Williams arrived, he was drinking. And he was drinking with the child, riding from Bainbridge to Americans. And that he met Trinity in Albany, Georgia. And when he met her, they were going to Chipotle to have something to eat. And they sat down to eat there, but they did not have some of the things they normally have. And Trinity asked could they go somewhere else because they didn't have what she wanted. So before they left from Chipotle, they were going to go to McDonald's. Before they went, they took the car seat out of Mr. Williams' vehicle and put it in Trinity's vehicle. And they did that because they knew, or Trinity knew, that Mr. Williams was drinking. He didn't need to be driving with that child. So they go to the trouble to take the car seat out of one vehicle, put it in the other vehicle. Trinity and the child went to eat at McDonald's. Now when they went to eat at McDonald's, this is Saturday, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, sometime in that range, the child did not eat when he was given his food. But he's a young child. It's not unheard of for a child not to eat. Trinity didn't think anything particularly about that. They then decided to go to America's. And Trinity had already decided, yes, she had sent text about she preferred that she not see him that night, not just the child, but Mr. Williams. But she realized Mr. Williams was drinking. She couldn't just send him back home with the child because he would be driving with the child. So she agreed to come back to America's that night. They came back to the dorm that night. And when they came to the dorm that night, they had planned on spending the night, and Mr. Williams went to sleep very early. I would suggest to you that he passed out because he had been drinking. And that left Trinity with the child. Now, some of what was said earlier about facts are not exactly correct. Trinity did text her roommate and ask if she use her room, but not to sleep. If you read the text, it was actually to watch TV, because that would be separate in a way, not to go to sleep. But she had the child, and she was up with it, and Mr. Williams was asleep. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the rest of this situation as far as the facts of what happened from there forward in just a moment. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the investigation that has occurred in this case. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, along with the American Police Department, you'll see from the evidence, are the two main investigatory agencies who are trying to determine what happened here. And in doing so, they had a right to interview people and try to find facts and all those things. And you will see that they will have no evidence concerning the location of where a supposed crime scene occurred, and they'll have no evidence about a crime occurring at all. In other words, you'll see no blood evidence, you'll see no DNA evidence, you'll see no spittle evidence, you'll see no throw-up evidence. You may hear...
In my opinion, that almost looks as if she was covering something up, because how would a child have these injuries and there not be something to show of how the injuries occurred if you weren't involved? Like, if you really aren't the one who did it, you know, and say there was okay, so when I was I think I was 11. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, I was at my grandmother's house. My cousins lived with my grandmother, and they had these satin bed covers and pillowcases and everything, and it was very slippery. And we were fucking around. We had these workout balls, you know, those big balls that you can sit on that bounce. So I was on one of those balls on the slippery bed, and I was bouncing on it like a fucking dumbass. And guess who fell off the bed? I had to get stitches in my head. I hit my head on the dresser. I slammed my face against an open drawer on the dresser. And I was just, just one of those things where you fall and you hit a bunch of things on the way down. Say there was some shit like that actually went down, how would there not be evidence of it? You could go to my grandmother's room, my house at the time, and you would be able to see, oh, this is where that happened. This is where she hit here. This is where the ball is, all of this. And then I go, take me to the hospital. We get the stitches. I just hit my knee. All of that. I don't understand, if this was a genuine, mistake or some shit, because there are injuries here. So, what could explain it, right? Say there was, a counter, or, say there was, an armoire, or, something that fell over onto the child. Say there was something that could have happened that actually explained how it would be possible for a baby to get these injuries and it not be malicious. How would there be no evidence of it? I do not understand that. So the fact that there is no evidence isn't the sign you think it is, because it looks as if you covered something up and you tried to hide things. Because if there should be evidence of something happened.
Hear about throwing up coming up somewhere, but you'll see no evidence of it.
It's like this. If you are in a car wreck and you want to file an insurance claim because you were in a car wreck, you have to prove the damage to your vehicle to get the insurance claim to help you with that. You know what I mean? If you call your insurance company and you say, hey, I need you to pay for me to fix my vehicle, but you can't prove any damage, or, you know what I mean? That's just all. Then they're gonna be why wouldn't you have evidence if you needed us to fix it?
You'll see no blood splatter, you'll see nothing. That will indicate that a violent action occurred in the dorm where Trinity Poague lives. Nothing. You will see lots of photographs. They took photographs, over 150 photographs of the dorm area. They took photographs of garbage, all kinds of evidence. They'll have nothing. And more importantly, you'll see that the GBI and the American Police Department committed 2 severe violations of normal protocol. One involved, they took in from the trash. They had video of people coming in and out delivering trash to the dumpster, and coming from the dorm room of where Trinity lived. The trash was taken out, so they took that trash, went out there into the green dumpster, and pulled it out. And they went through it, and it was just normal stuff, empty cola cans and that kind of thing. Had 3 diapers in there. 3 diapers were wrapped up. They unfolded those diapers. They took pictures of the folded up diaper first. Then they took pictures of the diapers after they were opened up. 2 of them were of no real note. I think they may have had urine or something, it's hard to tell. The third one was full of fecal matter. But in that fecal matter, from the naked eye, it appeared to have blood in it. And it appeared to have blood because that's the coloration of it and the way you're looking at it. And the importance of that was, and is, it was taken enough importance to have a picture taken of it and to be marked, the photograph number show which number it is. But after they took that, and the first time that we saw it as a defense, we filed a motion to ask that there be a test done on that fecal matter to see if there was blood in it. Because if there was blood in fecal matter, it would show that it had been quite some time between injury and that occurred. You can't have blood if it just happened, it wouldn't be blood and fecal matter. In this case, the diaper was not the one the child was wearing when it went to the hospital. It had a diaper on when it went to the hospital. So you know that this diaper came from previous time, sometime in the past time period. But GBI and American Police Department, when we asked to do that test, turned out they threw it away. Threw away the evidence. They do not have it. They will not be able to explain why they don't have it, other than they did not feel like it was important enough to keep. The second protocol violation, I'll just wait and you'll just.
I didn't realize throwing out a baby's diaper was a protocol violation of evidence, but I'm still not understanding how what diaper the baby was wearing is evidence of whether or not she committed the crime. Maybe that will get explained.
Listen, when you come to court, you'll see they violated a very serious normal protocol for the way cases are handled. And you will see that as I question some of their witnesses. But you will see that this investigation also failed in many ways. They interviewed Ms. Poague, they interviewed Mr. Williams, they interviewed quite a few people. But most of the people they interviewed, almost all, were the folks that knew Ms. Poague. Almost all of them. Everyone in the dorm, every friend they could find out, anything good, trying to find out what was going on here. But you'll see when it came time to interview Mr. Williams. Now remember, he's the caretaker of this child. When it comes time to interview his sister, Miss Ashanti Burke, they interviewed them, but no one else. They didn't interview anybody new. They didn't interview about what was going on. They didn't interview anything about what might have happened.
Maybe that would be because she didn't call the ambulance and he's the one that took the baby to the hospital, so he already been interviewed at the hospital. Because I know you're not going to take no fucking baby to the hospital with those types of fucking injuries and not get your ass questioned. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm assuming he's already been through some of those preliminary investigation steps that would have been involved there. And so the police are like, well, they've already, like, they're taking also what the medical reports are, you know, in my opinion, potentially. Like, I feel like they're doing their investigation through those statements and through that chain, in my opinion. But I don't know if that's legally how it's supposed to work. But, like, for me, logically, I feel like that is the work that could be said to have shown they already did turn those stones, and they wouldn't need to circle back to that unless there was a reason to later, you know? Like, you know what I mean? There's already documentation for that, so let's get what there's not the documentation for yet. Like, it makes sense.
They didn't interview anyone on that side because there was a rush to judgment in this case. You'll see the GBI got in this case earlier. So,
but she didn't rush to call the ambulance. Okay.
Trinity Poague was the last person that was with the child. The child was in distress. She must have done it. From that point on, there was no effort to do anything but try to prove that Trinity Poague was the person that did it. But they had problems, as I said, when they went to the dorm room and they scoured it trying to find evidence. They found nothing. That did not support their theory very much. So they then have said they think it had to be within a time frame, a very short time frame, that this occurred. That's the only explanation. That way it would make it where it could be no one else. Now understand.
If the father of the child was the one who took the baby to the hospital without her, would that not have given her then time to hide any evidence? If he was at Walmart and then came back to it like this, would she not have then had time to hide any evidence? I'm just curious. It's just a question. It's not an accusation. It's just a question.
Trinity Poague was only around the child this time from Saturday around 6 o'clock or so until Sunday at noon. And really she was around the child most of that time with Mr. Williams. If any injury or anything happened to the child any other time period, it absolutely could not be Trinity Poague. And that's important to note because there are some things that occurred here. When Mr. Williams was interviewed, and I believe when he testifies, he will have to admit that he told various stories about what he thought had happened to the child after he got to the hospital. You will see, I believe, from Dr. Busman's notes that the first thing he told him was that the child had fallen face down, face first, 5 minutes before he brought the child to the hospital. I don't know where he got that particular statement from, but that's what he told him. He later told police officers the same story, that the child had fallen. And he told Trinity Poague and one of the police officers at one time that the child had fallen on Friday. In addition to that, we know a few things about what may have happened with the child as well. We know that J.D. spent the night, as I told you, in the room. If they got back from going to eat, when they got back, Mr. Williams is out. He's out cold. And we know he's out cold because there was reports from other people in the dorm that sometime midnight forward, at least 2 people reported they heard the child crying loud enough that it woke them up. And we also know that Mr. Williams said, I don't know anything about that. And finally admits he didn't wake up. And I would suggest to you that evidence shows there's a reason he didn't wake up, for what I told you a moment ago. because he had been drinking enough that he would not wake up. But Trinity Poague was awake during those time periods. And Trinity you have seen that what they've already talked about with the text message, that she acknowledged that the child fell off the bed that night. Now, she said the first time he fell off the bed, but I think he's okay. The second time when they asked, she said, well, it was really just the blow-up mattress. But I think you will see that when that statement was made was from the hospital, as they were waiting to find out what was going on, and by that time, there had already been allegations being thrown against her. And I believe that you will find that Mr. Williams had wanted to make sure that no one said anything about the child falling off the bed. The bed's important because this bed's not like normal beds, in the sense that your normal bed's not too high off the ground. This bed is 40 inches above the ground because you can store stuff below it. That means it's about this high. It's pretty high. If you'll see from, I believe, the investigation, that the flooring in that dorm room is a concrete tile floor. Very hard surface is what I believe.
And mind you, 36 inches is 3 feet, so it's over 3 feet off the ground. So now I can see, like, a bit, but over 3 feet is a bit high for a 1-year-old to fall. I feel like, I'm not understanding their logic so far at this time, but at the same time, we're just hearing their sides of the story. We're not seeing the evidence yet. But without evidence, just on hearing the way each attorney tells the facts of the case, the prosecution is absolutely, in my opinion, potentially winning the jury's public opinion so far at this point. Because at this point, the first attorney, at first I was like, they probably aren't going to like the first attorney because he's too rambly like me, and that's not good for when you're trying to get people to understand and process the facts of a case. But then this guy, he comes off as if he is negating facts of the case, or as if he is trying to detract from facts of the case by acting as if other surrounding events negate the crime. But I don't know. So far, I'm not liking his defense, and it makes me wonder, like, would other clients see this, look at that, and then think twice about hiring him? Especially when, isn't this the guy that didn't even know what law was relevant to whether or not the victim or witness should be in the courtroom?
The investigation showed. So it's something if you fall on or hit will cause great damage and cause harm. And we know that the child fell off of that bed at that time because of the statements they were already made, and because we know from the dorm that the child was crying. Now, was that enough to cause these injuries? I know the state will say that is not the case. But there's a few things I believe that will be acknowledged or admitted by the medical people that will come testify today. One is any child under 3 and certainly under 2 is not physically developed yet. And in one place they're not physically developed is the skull. Their skull has not joined together and become a solid structure that protects. It is sort of apart. So any evidence, in fact, that the skull was somehow separated could very well be that the skull has not yet formed to be together. But because it's not...
In my opinion, even if that's the case, why is there the time difference between when the baby fell off the bed and this? The timing doesn't align with the facts of this theory, in my opinion.
Not totally together. A young child is much more susceptible to injury from a fall than would be an adult human being, and can get much more catastrophic injury from what would seem to be a rather unimportant fall, can cause great harm to a child. In addition to that, the same holds true for internal injuries. A child's organs are much larger than your organs.
I'm sorry, but if that were the case, and they are saying, like, they did not take the child to the hospital then, that still speaks to neglect on both of their part. Even if he's the baby's father, if she's present, she's still involved in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this is just not the direction you want to go, because he's sitting there like, no, she's not a murderer, she's just neglectful around children. What? Either way, you're not making her look good.
Because they've already grown in size almost to the adult size, even though they're a small child. So they're very susceptible to a fall because it's a small area with a large organ that if it falls can cause injury. And I believe that's important to know that that could be part of what could have happened.
But that doesn't explain the rest of the injuries. And if what the prosecution was saying was true, that they believed the injury where on the back of the neck, the blunt force trauma was part of how this got connected, how the skull got disconnected, that doesn't match up, because that would be the point of when the baby passed away. So that timing, it doesn't make sense to me, right? Based on the medical opinions involved in the case, if those facts are true. And again, I'm not a doctor or a lawyer.
We don't know why Mr. Williams said the child fell on Friday, but there's also evidence, I believe, can show that if you have one fall compounded by another fall, it can cause some injury that then gets magnified by the second fall. But if we go back to...
Okay, I'm the clumsiest bitch in the world. I fall all the fucking time. I agree that if you injure yourself and then you injure the same thing again, it's going to just be a bigger injury and hurt more. But on another level, this logic does not, in my opinion, explain the variety of the injuries that occurred and the severity of them, as well as the timeline between the baby being found and the baby being brought to the hospital and when the baby passed. Like, all of this does not make sense. And if any of what he's saying is true, I think she should still be held responsible for not fucking taking the child to the hospital, for being a part of that.
The night in question at this time.
And if it were true, then he should be held responsible too, right? Like, if it were true that, like, but either way, it's just like, this doesn't help your client necessarily. Even if it passes responsibility, shared, makes this responsibility go from solely on her to shared with the father, it still doesn't take her out of the woods, in my opinion. It's just a different theory in which I felt like she could still be charged legally for endangering a fucking child, in my opinion.
Happened on the fall from the bed. And we know that happened. The next morning, when everyone wakes up, it appears that, by all testimonies that will come in, that the child appeared to be okay. They got up rather late that morning, except for one thing. The child, again, did not eat and did not drink. The child would not eat and would not drink the night before. Everyone will agree with that part, did not eat a meal. He gets up the next morning at almost 12 by this time and still is not eating and not drinking. And we know that, not from testimony so much. We do know there were some chips that were crushed up in Mountain Dew given to the child, but the medical examiner and the medical records will show the child had no food in its stomach at all, had no food or any substance in its mouth. The child was not eating for some reason, which, of course, could cause concerns, but only if you're looking back to now seeing their problems. But when the child didn't eat, it was just sitting there not eating, and that's when they decided to go get pizza. The father went to get pizza. Now, when he went to get pizza, Miss Poague said I was going to go with him. She and the child would go along with him. But he said, no, you just stay here. And prior to them going to get pizza, she and Mr. Williams had taken a shower together. And this was right before he would then get out of the shower and leave. He got out of the shower before she did. He got out of the shower about 5 minutes before she did, because she remained in the shower and shaved her legs. And that took some time.
I don't understand how the fuck is this relevant, you know? Are they trying to act like he did that in the 5 minutes, but then you still didn't call the police or 911, bitch? Like, none of this makes sense to me, and it doesn't align for me. I feel like he's just trying to run out the clock at this point, so that way maybe if the jurors are mentally exhausted, they will just want it to be over with and get confused to the facts of the case or some shit. I don't know. Like, I don't understand it. Because sometimes when people argue with you and they know you're wrong, and they know they're wrong, and they don't have an argument that's valid, they will just try and sit there and talk in circles about the facts of the case to confuse you on it, instead of to confuse you and to wear you down, because they don't have an actual valid argument. And that comes off as what he's doing here.
Mr. Williams was holding the child, who was crying rather loudly. But that was not unheard of, because the child was fussy from time to time and had been fussy during this occasion by not eating. Trinity Poague did not think a lot about it at the time, but the child calmed down. Mr. Williams put him in his little seat, and he left to get food. When he came back, the child was all of a sudden in distress. Trinity Poague will tell you Trinity Poague's testimony would be that she was cleaning up around the house and didn't see anything unusual until she looks and sees that the hit child is not able to hold its head up as it should. She called her boyfriend because she knew he was not far away, and it would be quicker to get the child to get medical attention to go straight ahead than to call some emergency. He went to the hospital. She followed behind at the hospital, and that's when they came to be interviewed. They were interviewed on many occasions by police officers. Mr. Williams gave conflicting stories on various things on several occasions, and he was interviewed some, but as I said, nothing was followed up. Now, when you look at the whole...
So before he was trying to act like the father of the child wasn't under the same scrutiny with the police as she was, But now it seems as if he's admitting they both were initially under the same scrutiny, but after the investigation, they pursued her as a lead and not him. That makes her look guilty. It doesn't make her look like a victim, in my opinion, as if he's trying to make it seem.
The totality of this case, ladies and gentlemen, it's easy to just first blush say, well, she was there last, must be the person. This case requires evidence. It requires proof. Trinity Poague should not be accused of this crime. I know that when you go back to the jury room, you will want to find justice, and I understand that because you do have one victim and a young child. But in seeking justice in this case, do not let justice.
I think they really should have come in with a better theory on what actually happened with this case if they wanted to shift blame off of her. Because without being able to produce the theory or the evidence on what actually did happen, and you're just spending your time kind of being like, yeah, it wasn't me. We know that all of these surrounding events are true, but that doesn't mean we did it. It looks as if you just don't want to admit what you're responsible for because you can't pinpoint the facts of who actually did it.
Justice be found at the cross of innocent blood because Trinity Poague did not commit this violent act. And Trinity Poague is not guilty of the crime she's been accused of, and that is a proper verdict that you should render at the end of this trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, it is 10:25 according to that clock. I'm going to give you a 15-minute recess. I'm asking you to step into the jury room for 15 minutes. The next recess, I'll let some people go downstairs if they need to, but please be ready to come back at just at 10:45. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like they're taking a break now. Is this a break for the rest of this? Okay. Oh, it looks like they're back again about here. Let's pick it up right where they come back. Are they still on a break? It says court is on a short break. But you know what? Now they're speaking again, so fuck it. Let's play that and see what happens.
All of these witnesses, you know, like, you can't say things like that, et cetera, and I did. I told them all that. But I guess the warnings that I should have given should have been more, because I just learned of something, encountered something that I have literally never encountered before, and didn't have any, you know, didn't even have a clue, didn't even occur to me that I should say anything in advance about it. But Investigator Douglas went to the went back there to the jury room where not the jury room, the witness room where Johnson, Milledge, and Chief Lewis were sitting in there, you know, waiting to be called as witnesses, and one of them said something to him like, you know, well, there was something stated, something that he believed to be a fact, and Stephen said, Investigator Douglas said, you know, how in the world do you know that? And he said, oh, well, we're sitting here watching it on the phone. No, watching the live stream of the trial.
What witnesses are doing that?
Milledge, Lewis, and Johnson, the three officers from GSW.
Okay.
So, I mean, I simply, you know, I felt like I have to make the court aware of that. I mean, I mean, it would be I don't know that the rule of sequestration has actually technically been invoked at this point.
That's true, but
so I would invoke it at this time, but nonetheless, I mean, I understand that as improper. And if I had any idea that they might do that, I certainly would have told them not to, and anybody else that's up here waiting from here on out will be told, you know, not.
Yeah, that's fucked up. So basically, the prosecution is saying that their own witnesses are not supposed to be not supposed to be privy to all the information of the court, but they're looking at the live stream of the court. And if you're a witness in the case, you're not supposed to do that because it could alter your testimony. So you're supposed to just come give your testimony without the influence of the rest of the trial. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken. And I think after you give your testimony, they may not care, but yeah. So this part right here is something where he's saying my own witnesses are now jeopardized.
To do that, but anyway, I just felt like I had to bring it to the court's attention. I mean, I don't think it affects their ability to testify or whatever, but it would be a violation of the rule of sequestration had it been invoked, and you know, it could be addressed in that way. But in any event, their testimony is all, for all practical purposes, I mean, their testimony is pretty perfunctory. I mean, they're all going to testify briefly and literally only about the preservation of the same, not the contents of the same.
Okay.
And so, you know, that is, and Chief Lewis is going to testify about the videos that were pulled, which, you know, I've already advised. He was going to testify about that.
I guess it's smart for him to go ahead and address it though, because if he gets goes ahead and gets whatever decision, whatever ruling there's going to be from the judge, then the defense won't be able to use that over him in order to dismiss his witnesses later, so he can go ahead and get prepped for what that's going to be.
So anyway,
Well,
just bring
let
it
me,
to your
let me
attention.
ask, well, I'll let you comment on that, but I assume the parties wish to invoke the rule of sequestration. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, the rule of sequestration is now invoked. So I'm going to ask each of you to instruct your witnesses that is in effect and give them the further instruction, because they may not realize that includes watching any broadcasting or TV or news coverage of these events. Is there anything you want to add to that, Mr. Gamble?
Well, no, Your Honor, we normally ask for sequestration right at this point, right time before we bring the jury out, and so that not before we, do open statements on it, but I acknowledge that it was not enforced, so I don't know that I can file some kind of motion or ask for a mistrial or anything under those circumstances, but I am aware that occurred, and I may ask those people about that when that time comes. I think I got a right to do that. And I appreciate Mr. Lamb being honest about it, Judge.
Yeah, I do appreciate you bringing this up. So
I sure wouldn't want you to find out some other way.
okay. All right. Well, that rule is in effect, and all of your witnesses need to be instructed about that. All right. Is the jury ready? All right. Bring them in.
I've got this on 2 times speed. I'm just gonna, because I don't want to miss
All right,
it.
everybody can be seated.
Oh, here we go.
And I'm going to, as you all come in and out, I think you've noticed that people stand. They do that for me too when I come in and out, but I at some point ask them to not. That I want everybody to be comfortable, including myself, because when I walk in, I don't want everybody to come up and down. So I'm going to let everybody know that it's not necessary to stand as you come in and out of the jury, because frankly, it takes you a little while, and I don't want you to feel uncomfortable about that. But obviously, everybody respects you. Okay?
I'm
I'm
a
not going to
two-time.
prohibit you from standing, but you do not have to stand when the jury comes in and out. Mr. Lamb, you can call your first witness.
No, the state calls Lieutenant Nate Milledge.
I'm just over here like she's got her hair done, her nails done. It doesn't look to me like she's even been imprisoned. So how are they going to call her a victim just for being accused of the crime? But if she didn't do it, then how did it get this far? And why isn't she able to say who did do it if she, as you said, was with the child the whole time? So
If you make way towards the witness stand, and then when you get there, if you just pause for just a moment and look towards me, please. Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the evidence you will give in this case will be the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Have a seat, sir.
Pull that microphone towards you, sir. We want to test that out.
Testing 1 2. Test 1 2.
Would you tell the jury your name, please?
My name is Nathaniel Milledge, Lieutenant at Georgia Southwestern State University.
Lieutenant Nathaniel Milledge, and can you spell Milledge for the court reporter, please?
It's Milledge.
And you were employed, you said, at Georgia Southwestern State University?
That's correct.
What department are you employed in there?
The police department.
And how long have you been with the GSW Police Department?
Total of about 27 years.
And on January 14, which was a Sunday, January 14, 2024, were you on duty?
Yes, I was.
And did you receive some information concerning an event which may have occurred on the GSW campus?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Just briefly, if you would tell the jury what information you received and from where.
Okay. Initially, I received a call, as I recall, from Lieutenant Allen from America's Police Department. I think he was at the emergency room. I think he may have been working security at that time.
Okay. Did you receive a call from Allen, or did you get notified by Central?
I did receive a call from Central, but I also spoke with Lieutenant Allen.
All right. So both. You
Right.
received. What is Central? What do you mean by Central?
The 911 center.
Okay. And then you also received a phone call from Lieutenant
Allen.
Tim Allen from the America's Police
Right.
Department, right? Okay. And did you subsequently have some conversation with Chief Lewis about you know, about information being received concerning a matter at the college?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What was the nature of the call? Okay, I mean, without much detail, but I mean, just, you know, if you're going to summarize the nature of the call that you got, or the word that you got about what had happened.
I received a call that there was a baby transported from Georgia Southwestern to the emergency room, and I think it was Lieutenant Allen who informed me that initially he was told that the baby had fallen, that the baby was injured. At the time, didn't know the extension of the baby's injuries.
Okay, so there was an injured baby at the hospital,
Right.
And somebody at the hospital had figured out, I suppose from talking to someone else, that the baby came from the GSW campus.
That's correct.
And jurisdictionally, what does that mean, that if the child, if something happened on the GSW campus as opposed to happening, you know, on the street out here in front of the courthouse?
It's GSW's jurisdiction.
It's GSW's jurisdiction, right?
That's correct.
America's police department may assist, but you guys have sort of the primary jurisdiction over events or acts which occur on the campus. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And so once you learned that it was a injured child at the hospital, what did you do in terms of taking next steps?
At that point, myself and another officer, was Lorenzo Johnson, was on duty at the time. I went to the hospital to start the investigation, and I sent him to the room and told him to secure it and not let anyone go into the room.
Okay. So you went to the hospital where the baby was.
That's correct.
But you told Johnson to go to the room that you believed, that, from what you had been told, that you believed where something might have occurred.
That's correct.
Okay. And so, where was that? What location did you send Johnson to?
It was the Southwestern Oaks Dorm 2.
Oaks 2?
Right.
That's OAKS. Right?
OAKS,
Like number 2?
Southwestern Oaks.
Okay, Southwestern Oaks.
Right.
Okay. Southwestern Oaks in like the numeral 2?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. And that's the name of the dormitory, or that is the name of the dormitory.
That's the
right?
name of the dormitory.
Okay. And did you provide him with any information about any, did you identify for him any particular room in the dormitory that he should take control of?
Once we confirmed what room it was, I did.
Okay, so you gave him a room number.
Right, that's correct.
Okay. After you got to the hospital and began conducting a preliminary investigation, I suppose, into what may have happened, did you do something else in connection with this investigation?
Once I got to the hospital, I did speak with the father of the father of the baby, Mr. Williams, I think his name
Julian
was.
Williams, does that sound right?
So before I was just like, okay, when are we going to get to what is relevant here? Like, why is this guy on the stand, right? And now I see this is where they're bringing into evidence, you know, like, how was the investigation done to where it got to where they pinpointed her as the lead that was most likely to have committed this crime.
Right.
And Ms. Poague.
Okay. But then did you do something else in terms of procuring assistance from another agency?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what was that you did?
I contacted, after speaking with Chief Lewis, and informing him of the suspected injuries of severity, and we decided that to call the GBI to get their assistance.
Suffice to say, you learned very quickly the child was severely injured.
Right, that's correct.
Whatever the cause of those injuries, you knew he was severely injured.
Well, the doctor at the time, Dr. Busman, came in, and I was witnessing him inform the baby's father and Ms. Poague of the baby's condition. Okay,
and once you learned that, you spoke to the chief, and then y'all called in the GBI.
That's correct.
Okay. What would have been your instruction, if any, to Johnson? Is it Sergeant Johnson? Officer
Johnson.
Officer Johnson. What would have been your instruction to Officer Johnson at that time about maintaining the control and integrity of the scene, of the location that he'd been sent to?
Well, initially, prior to me leaving campus, I gave him those instructions because I didn't know the severity of it, and I told him to secure it and to not let anyone enter the room. My instructions were to treat it as if it was a crime scene.
Okay. So sometimes you don't know if a place is a crime scene, do you?
That's true.
And so you make whatever provisions you can make to preserve it, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Was that essentially your intention in sending Johnson there?
That was my intention.
Okay. No further questions this time.
All right, cross-examination?
Yes, Officer Milledge, Dunn T. Gamble, how you doing today?
Doing fine, sir.
Just got a few questions for you. First of all, you stated that Lieutenant Allen, you had a conversation with him early on, and that's what spurred you on to go to the hospital and that type of thing, correct?
Yes, I did have a conversation with him.
And Lieutenant Allen indicated to you that Mr. Williams had told him that the child had fallen, correct?
He said that they said that the baby fallen.
So you don't know if he said Williams or you don't know who said it, just they said it?
That's correct. So he was told that.
Now, when you got that information and then you went to the hospital realizing there was some injuries to the child, you had already at that time contacted one of your officers and told him to secure the room back where Trinity Poague lived?
I did that before I left campus.
Okay, so before you left campus, now when you got to the hospital, was Trinity Poague there?
Yes, she was.
And was Mr. Williams there?
Yes.
And of course the child was there, correct?
Yes, he was.
And you had Officer Johnson back securing the scene per your orders, correct?
That's correct.
And as far as you know, he followed that order and kept that place secure where no one could go in it, correct?
That's correct.
And it would be fair to state that Ms. Poague could not have gone back at any time and tampered with the room from that moment forward, correct?
That's correct.
And so there was no possibility of someone coming in removing evidence, correct?
There should not have been.
And there should not have been.
For me, though, that doesn't explain where she was or what happened between the Walmart situation and them going to the hospital. So, but if I'm understanding correctly, I had first thought that he went to the hospital without her. Now, I believe they're saying like they went to the hospital together. So that theory is now out the window, right? But but it still doesn't explain like what could have been hidden or covered up between him going to Walmart and coming back to this. Like, what was that situation?
Any possibility of someone coming in and cleaning up the room or anything of that nature, correct?
That's correct.
And the purpose of that securing was to make sure that the only people that could go into that room forward would be some kind of technicians with law enforcement to collect evidence and that type of thing, correct?
That's correct.
And to your knowledge, in fact, there was eventually someone who came and did that, correct?
That's correct.
Now, you weren't part of that, were you?
I was not.
And I know you had this initial part of the investigation, but after that, you didn't do any follow-up interviews or anything like that with potential witnesses, did you?
I did not.
I mean, once you turn over to the GBI, is that you kind of step back and let them take over?
Yes, sir.
It may not have been his job to, because I know with some police officers, or depending on their position, they do have the authority to make those calls, but then some of them, they don't even have the authority to make that call. They're just doing what the fuck they're told.
And other than that preliminary stuff, you would have no other hand in the investigation, correct?
Not directly.
How about indirectly? How would you have it there?
Well, I was interviewed by the GBI.
And so they would get whatever information you got from that initial stuff.
Right.
But I mean, you wouldn't go out on your own and say, let me see if I can talk to some witnesses, let's say.
No.
That wasn't your job, was it?
No, it wasn't.
And the purpose of securing that room was to preserve that room so that evidence could be collected from it and make sure none of it was destroyed or tampered with in any way, correct?
That's correct.
That's all the questions I have.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness be excused?
He may be.
All right. Lieutenant, you're free to go or stay. Mr. Lamb, you can call your next witness.
The state calls Officer Lorenzo Johnson.
Is she over there like, I don't even know who the fuck that is? I don't know why, like at the beginning of this trial, you know, one of the commenters here even said she's came off as if she had an attitude, like she came off as if she was mad at the beginning of the trial. To me, her facial expression, but now her facial expression, to me, she looks nervous. She looks anxious. Now she's starting to look worried. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look good for her in my opinion so far, and I don't feel that if she does have a legal valid defense, I don't feel that her attorney is doing a good job at articulating that.
Officer Johnson, can you go up here to the witness stand?
Yeah, and if you'll just pause right there before you have a seat and look towards me, please. Raise your right hand. You swear that the evidence you give in this case will be the truth, so help you God? Yes. Okay, have a seat, sir. What is your name? What is your name?
Lorenzo Lar Johnson.
Lorenzo Lamar Johnson?
Lar, L-A-R.
L-A-R. Lorenzo Lar Johnson. Okay, and where are you presently employed?
Georgia Southwestern State University.
And what department are you employed in there?
As of right now, I'm in residential life.
Residential life,
Yes.
okay. And how long have you been employed in residential life?
A little more than a year now.
Prior to that, did you have a position in a different department at GSW?
Yes.
And where was that?
A public sector building. Department, brother.
Public Safety Department?
Yes.
Okay, what was your position there?
Police officer.
Police officer? How long had you worked as a police officer at GSW? If you can remember.
I came in 2022, I believe.
Okay. So as of January of 2024, you had been there for a couple of years.
Going on 2, I believe.
Do you recall the day of January 14, 2024?
Yes.
And was there an event that happened at GSW that day, or an event that apparently had happened at GSW that day that prompted you to be given some instructions and to take some action?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me how you first learned of the event that had happened?
I believe we received a call from Chief Lewis at some point. Lieutenant Milledge did.
Do you recall if you might have received some instructions from Lieutenant Milledge?
Yes.
Okay. What instruction did you receive from Lieutenant Milledge?
I was told to report to Oaks 2 to secure the scene of the incident that happened on campus.
Okay. And Oaks 2 is a dormitory there, is that right?
Yes.
Were you given a particular room that you should secure?
Yes.
Did you go there after you got that call, that instruction?
Yes.
How long did it take you to get there after you got that instruction?
Less than 3 minutes. I would say less than 5 minutes.
What is involved in securing a scene, whether it turns out to be, whether it is or is not, or turns out to be or doesn't turn out to be a crime scene per se? If it is a scene of interest, what is involved in securing that?
Well, immediately I would go to that scene and make sure there's no one inside that particular area. And at that point, I took pictures just to make sure that we have that particular scene photographs. And after that, I immediately secured the room with our emergency tape.
So you went to the room that you were directed to go to. Do you remember what room number it was by chance?
R158 or 159.
158 and 159 are really the same room, right? I mean, it's the same suite.
Yes.
They have the same door.
Yes.
From the hallway.
Yes.
And then once you go inside the room, what is it, just if you could describe for the jury, just sort of the typical layout?
When you first enter the room, it's going to be a room to your left, a room to your right. Before you get to those rooms, you're going to have like a common area, like a sink and a restroom.
I am not understanding what the layout is. Just the hospital room they're talking about? Like, what is the layout of this room? Or are they talking about shit? Dude, I do not feel like going back. There's so much to this case. Fuck it. I'm just gonna be wrong. Like, I don't know if they're talking about the hospital room or their apartment. Like, what the fuck do they mean? Because for a minute, I thought they were talking about the hospital room. But either way, I don't understand this part right here. What does this layout have to do with whether or not she committed the crime?
I'm going to show you a diagram, and I understand in advance that you didn't prepare this diagram. It was actually taken from the GSW website. But just take a look at State's Exhibit 1 and tell me if you recognize what's shown in that diagram.
Yes.
What is shown in there?
You see a restroom, bathroom to your left. You see a sink, vanity.
That overall, what is that? I mean, is it?
That's an apartment.
It's an apartment or a suite, and
yes.
Is that in one of the dormitories?
Okay, it is the apartment. Like, because I thought they were talking about the apartment, but then when they were talking about the numbers, I was like, that sounds like some hospital labeling. I've never seen apartments labeled that way, but whatever. Maybe I'm just weird. I'm still. I guess we'll get to it. It's the scene of the crime, so perhaps the layout does matter in terms of explaining the possible events that could have occurred, but I'm not understanding that part.
Yes.
Okay. The layout that's shown there, is that the same layout as the Oaks 2 dormitory?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, will tender State's Exhibit 1?
No objection, Your Honor.
Admitted without objection.
Okay. We'll get some more detail about that later. I'm just going to have him identify it because he actually is from GSW. Well, I tell you what. Let's just go ahead and let you tell the jury what the layout is of that room, of that dormitory. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'm going to display the diagram that he's holding in his hand, and it's laying in front of him. I'm going to display it up here so the jury can see it. If that's okay.
Once you've admitted it into evidence, you can display it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I think I'm going to 2x speed till they figure this out.
Assuming the TV is still on. screen, please. Let me go that far. Let's go back to right there. Okay. So can you tell us, like, the entrance door to this suite or this apartment is where?
It's Oak 2 building.
Okay, but where's the entry from the hallway into there? Where's the entry door?
It's directly in the front, right here. If you look at that, your way, it's right.
Talking about right here?
Yes.
Okay, right, so you go in the front door, there's some sinks to the right, and then a bathroom to the left, right? Toilet and shower? Yes. Okay, and then two doors that open into two different areas, two different separated areas, correct?
Yes.
All right. And is that the same layout as the room in question in this case?
Yes.
Fair enough. Okay, when you got to the dorm rather, what was going on at the dormitory?
When I got there, the room was empty. Both rooms was empty. One door was shut.
Okay, the door was closed and the room was empty?
The roommate door was closed, but that'll be the room on the right-hand side.
Okay.
The other door, the left-hand side, was open.
All right. So the hallway door was closed when you got there. But then when you went in, the door to the right was closed.
Yes.
And the door to the left was open.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Was there anyone in the apartment or in the suite?
No.
How many people were in the area, like in the dormitory in general?
It could have been maybe about 2 students, and one was an RL, I believe. This was on the hallway.
So there weren't many people there?
No.
It was a Sunday, right?
Yes.
Was school in session at that time?
No.
On January 14th?
In session, yes.
School was in session, but of course not
It's
on
weekend,
right?
yes.
Okay. So there were only a couple of people in the area?
Yes.
You took some pictures and then you said that you did what?
I secured the door.
How'd you secure the door?
I taped it off.
And when you taped it off, what did you do next?
I stood at post outside the door.
Did you leave? Did you leave prior to the time that somebody else was there to take over the scene?
No.
While you were there, did anyone who would not have had authority to enter the room attempt to enter the room?
No.
You remained there until when?
I don't know the exact time. My shift ends at 6. I remember going back to the department close to that time frame.
Okay. So you were there till around the end of your shift?
Yes.
Okay. What happened that led you to leave? I mean, that caused you to leave?
The GBI came.
Okay.
And also the next shift came also.
Who?
The next shift.
Oh, the next shift came on.
Yes.
Okay. So the next shift came on, and then the GBI came on.
Yes.
But you maintained control of that scene until other officers arrived, either from the next shift or until the actual GBI agent arrived.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Morning, Officer Johnson.
Good morning.
You doing okay?
Great.
I don't have a couple of questions, but just to make certain, from the time that you came and secured that room until you left, can you state with certainty that no one entered that room,
The GBI entered that room.
but other than law enforcement?
No.
You kept it secured from all time, correct?
Yes.
And you were there very quickly after being called initially, within 5 minutes. You were at the scene to secure it, correct?
Yes.
And no one was there then, correct?
No.
Now, you said you took some photographs, right?
I did.
What happened to those photographs?
They should be in evidence.
And you gave them to who?
I took them on our work cell phone, right? So therefore, that phone was downloaded. They downloaded the pictures, and it was given to Miss Donna Tissue.
And who is she?
She's the department administrator.
So she would have been with the Georgia Southwestern Police Department in some capacity?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have.
Tissue. Donna Tissue. Tissue, like, yeah, Tissue.
All right, any redirect?
Is it Officer Johnson, or, well, I guess, Mr. Johnson, or...
I'm still certified, so I'm fine with that.
Okay, all right. What would be the purpose of giving the phone or letting the pictures that you took be downloaded by Ms. Tissue?
For the evidence. No, that phone was our work phone, so whatever pictures we take, we usually give it to the assistant administrator to make sure that she get those pictures off to be downloaded.
Okay. Is it your job to then turn those pictures over to, like in this case, to the GBI, which was the agency that took over the investigation?
No, it's not my job to do that.
Okay. So somebody else would have been responsible for turning those over to the GBI?
Yes.
Nothing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
When you went in to take the photographs, I understand the reason behind it was to be able to show the condition of the room when you entered, to be able to say, later you could look at it and see nothing had been disturbed, correct?
Exactly, because we were the first law enforcement on the scene, so that's what we're trying to do, that we identify when we first got there.
But you weren't really trying to take photographs for evidentiary purposes to try to prove a case later on down the road, were you?
I guess that also speaks to what they're saying. Like earlier I was saying, like, I didn't understand if she could she have hidden, at first I thought she could have hidden evidence if she didn't go to the hospital or whenever the dad was at Walmart, in terms of, Trinity, if she could have hidden evidence is what I thought. And now I'm over here like, well, that would depend entirely on whatever it is they documented now, whether or not I think that, because they're saying that they definitely documented how the room was left before she came back from the hospital, so, or anything like that, if I'm not mistaken. So now my thoughts on that are going to depend on what comes out about what was documented. If they end up saying that nothing out of the ordinary was documented about that, then I could be like, okay, well, that theory of mine was wrong. But if they're sitting there like, oh, well, we have X, Y, and Z documented to prove that she did this, then I would be like, wow, okay, so I was right. So we're going to find that out now.
It wasn't, but I knew I was taking those pictures for some kind of incident.
Now, if there had been some kind of evidentiary value in that room, say a pool of blood or something of that nature, you would have made sure you took a picture of that, correct?
Yes.
And you didn't see anything visually as you looked in the room that would cause you any alarm or believe anything of violence occurred in that room, did you?
No.
Thank you. That's all the question.
Any other reader?
Okay, so it wouldn't have been possible for her to have hidden evidence, between them leaving to the hospital or whatever. So anything she did do would have had to have been done while he was at Walmart, if that theory is true, if that did happen.
Correct. All right, may this witness be excused?
Yes, yeah.
All right, Officer Johnson, you can be excused. You can call your next witness, Mr. Lamb.
State calls Chief Michael Lewis.
Chief, you come up to the witness stand and then face the district attorney before you have a sentence.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear the evidence you give in the case will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat, sir. Could you tell the jury your name, please?
Michael Lewis.
And, Mr. Lewis, where are you employed?
Georgia Southwestern State University's campus.
Dude, I couldn't pause this fast enough. Hold on, let's go back. I have not wanted to be replaying shit because this is too long. But hold on, this deserves it. Wait a minute, let me show y'all. Hold on, look at this.
Please. You swear the evidence you give in the case will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat, sir.
Did y'all see that? She was just laughing right there. How the fuck are you gonna be laughing at this murder trial? And right here,
Could you tell
looks
us
like
your name,
he's
please?
joking,
Michael
and it looks
Lewis.
like she's laughing again. It looks like they're fucking joking. This attorney is literally a fucking joke. Look at this. That's inappropriate. It's extremely inappropriate, in my opinion, to, when you're on trial for murder and you're over here looking like you're having a great old time, that doesn't look like someone who has any sort of remorse for what could have happened to the victim, the baby. Like, the fuck is this? That's just really sat with me the wrong way. I have not been going back, even when I didn't understand what happened in certain facts of this case, because I'm over here like, fuck it, I'm gonna process it later because I only got so much time. But that right there was what the fuck. What the fuck? That was extremely inappropriate. And that attorney right there shouldn't be engaging with his client in that way for a fucking murder trial. Televised. Televised, mind you. I'm sure they're aware that this is being recorded and streaming on court TV. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I don't know if that's technically televised, but streaming. You know what I mean. You know, that technicalities. Fuck it. What the fuck?
And, Mr. Lewis, where are you employed?
Georgia Southwestern State University's campus police.
What is your position there?
I am the chief of police there.
Okay. And how long have you been chief of police?
5 years.
Have you been employed as a police officer in other capacities prior to that time?
Yes.
And how long have you been a police officer?
My 30th year.
Your 30th year?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
In January of 2014, specifically January 14th, 2024. I said 2014. 2024.
Yes, sir.
Not 2020, not 2014. 2024. on January 14, 2024, did you become aware of an incident or an event that might have occurred on the GSW campus?
Yes, sir, I did.
How did you become aware of that?
I was given a phone call, I received a phone call from Lieutenant Timothy Allen from the American Police Department.
And what was your understanding as to where Allen was when he was calling you?
At the Phoebe Sumter Hospital here in Americus, Georgia.
And what did he, just in general terms, okay, what did he advise you of that, in terms of this incident or event?
Yes, there had been an incident that had occurred, that the baby had been brought to the hospital. That was, I think he advised that the baby was unresponsive and that the baby had come from the campus of Georgia Southwestern.
If something had happened to that child on the campus of Georgia Southwestern, technically, what department would have had jurisdiction over that investigation or that incident?
Yeah, Georgia Southwestern would have.
As opposed to like America's PD or the Sumter County Sheriff's Office?
That's correct, yes.
Speaking of which, let me just be sure that I cover this now. Where is Georgia Southwestern University?
It's GSW Drive, 800 GSW Drive here in Americus, Georgia.
Okay, and what county is that in?
Sumter.
And what state?
Georgia.
Okay, and the Oaks 2 dormitory.
This jurisdictional establishment just matters for them discussing who has the authority to make certain decisions in this investigation, which is what I think they're getting to, I'm assuming.
At GSW, is that dormitory physically on the campus?
It is, yes.
Okay, all right. Moving up. Okay. When you learned that there was a baby at the hospital that was unresponsive and the baby had been transported by someone from GSW, what steps did you take next at that time?
Right. Like I advised, I was actually off duty at the time, so I did advise Lieutenant Allen that I would reach out to Lieutenant Nathaniel Milledge, who was actually on duty at the university at the time, and I did in fact do so.
Okay. So you called Milledge, and did you give him any instructions or direction about what to do?
Right. So when I initially reached out to him, I reached out to him via my portable radio, which would kept Lieutenant Allen still on my cell phone at the time, and advised him of the incident. He advised me at the time that he was on the phone with Central 911, gathering further information about that incident.
So basically, he got the notification from two different places at the same time. From Central and you.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. So what did you instruct Milledge to do?
Right. So of course to go to the hospital and assess what he had and keep me updated.
Okay. Was that essentially to determine if there was a need for further investigation or whether it would in fact be under the jurisdiction of GSW?
Right. Just to kind of figure out if the child actually came from GSW and kind of what was going on that led the child from GSW to the hospital.
Okay. Did you subsequently look at some video footage from the campus?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And do you recall when you did that?
I did that on the day of the incident itself, on the 14th, I want to believe. That's Sunday.
And what was the purpose of you looking at video?
Right, just to gather some preliminary evidence, I guess, or to pass on to the GBI, who was going to be actually heading the case by that point.
What were you looking at video of?
Of Oaks 2 dormitory, where Miss Trinity Poague was to have been resided at the time.
Did you prepare a schematic or an outline of various times of things that, well, did you look at video?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. As you looked at the video, did you prepare a schematic or an outline of the various timestamps of when certain things happened at the dormitory?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. What were those things that happened that you made a note of?
Right, just again, it was trying to look at a digital footprint involving Miss Trinity Poague, Mr. Williams, and the baby Jaxton, I think this is the baby's name, just trying to create that digital footprint of them in the Oaks 2 dormitory.
Okay. So in other words, were you looking to see what time they got there, what time they left?
That's correct.
That sort of thing?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is that?
This is going to be the timeline that I prepared the day in questioning about the video footage in Oaks 2.
Now, that's a photocopy of yours. I mean, that's not your original handwriting.
No, it is not.
Can you look at it and tell me if it's accurate? I mean, in other words, is it the document that you prepared? When I say is it accurate, I mean, is that the document you prepared?
Yes, sir. It does appear to be my handwriting. Yes, sir.
Tender states to it, Steingart.
You objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
Maybe not objection.
And if I could have just a second, Your Honor, to speak with Mr. King. All right, Chief Lewis, I'm going to show you a thumb drive, a USB drive that is marked as State's Exhibit 3. There's a little sticker on the other side that says GSW Oaks Dorm Videos 113-14-2024.
I've started cooking dinner while I'm watching this. I wanted to try and get this all done tonight, but I might have to do part of this today and part of this another time. But anyway, we're gonna at least try and finish this witness statement. If I do have to put it off on part 1 and part 2, I'm gonna at least try and finish. We're on witness 3 here. I'm gonna try and finish that. I was about to skip through part of this, but it looks like it already I was about to skip through, but it looks like, I don't know, we're already getting there. We'll see. But yeah, I started cooking dinner while I'm watching, so sorry about that.
4. Have you seen this before?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay, and what was the occasion? How is it that came to be in your hands to see it?
Right, well, the DA brought it over to me yesterday, and I was able to view it again for the second time.
Okay, and Your Honor, for the sake of the record, what I would advise the court at this time is that is a USB drive that I actually prepared from the USB drive which was provided by GSW. But it doesn't include as much as the original one did. This includes what is shown on that timeline, items 6 through 12 of the timeline, which covers the time frame from Saturday night, the 13th, at about 10 p.m. to Sunday afternoon. Did I say that correctly?
That is correct. 22:06 to be exact. 10:06 p.m.
10:06 is the time of the first video that's on there?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And so you reviewed that and made sure that I copied the videos that you had given us, or that you had given the GBI, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And are they all the ones that, not all of them, but the ones that I said are on there, are they on there?
They are on there, yes.
Okay. With Tender States 3 at this time, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor. I'm aware that some that originally were on there are not, but they were irrelevant things that didn't pertain to this case, so I have no objection.
Okay, admitted without objection. Or the video is admitted without objection.
Judge, I'm going to give that back from Chief Lewis and display it to the jury this time, if that's okay. You hold on to that. Yeah, I need this. You hold on to that. Okay. And
I don't know what the fuck they're waiting for at this point, but
if my computer will recognize the USB drive, then I'm going to play for the jury. There it is. Okay. So what is going to be the first entry on here? What's the first thing they're going to see?
The first thing that you're going to see on the at 10:06 p.m. should be Ms. Poe, Mr. Williams, and baby Jaxton actually about to enter onto the hallway where Ms. Trinity Poague actually resides at, and those two.
Okay. So I'm going to put it up on the screen now. Okay. All right. So the time that is shown here, and I stopped it 1 second in, but the time that's shown here, or the date is what?
January 13th. January 13th should be what should be displayed.
Okay. And then the timestamp that's on there is what time?
Should be 10 p.m. which would be 22:06 is kind of how we did it. It was military time, but yes, 10:06 p.m.
10:06 and 19 seconds after, right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Okay. And I'm going to, at this time, Your Honor, I'm going to play this clip, which is very brief. Okay. Now, the 2 people that are shown in this clip, or 3 people, I'm sorry, do you actually know who they are?
At this time, yes, sir.
At this time, you know who they are?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Who are they?
Ms. Trinity Poague, Mr. Williams, and baby Jaxton.
Okay. And who's holding the baby?
Ms. Trinity Poague.
All right. Okay. So 10:06, they come in to the dorm. All right. Then there is a second clip. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And what does the second clip show? It actually encompasses 2 pieces of video. Is that right?
Well, it's supposed to be January 13th. Should just be Mr. Williams coming off the hallway alone.
Okay. That's what's designated as item 7 on the timeline, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And then item 8 is what?
Mr. Williams returning onto the hallway.
Okay. All right. And at this time, Your Honor, we're going to play that section. Okay. So the time that he enters the hallway is 10, or comes out of that door is 10:29:28, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And then when it shows him going back in, the video skips forward, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And what time does it skip forward to?
10:30 p.m.
10:30 and what, 35 seconds?
That's correct. 35.
Right.
Yes.
And that is Mr. Williams again, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
All right. The next video segment on this thumb drive shows what?
That should be on number 9. Would be January the 14th on that Sunday.
Okay.
And it's going to show Mr. Williams leaving the hallway alone with what appears to be 2 trash bags in his hands.
Okay. And that at what time is that then?
11:55, 58 p.m.
All right.
First a.m. I apologize. A.m.
Oh, wait a minute. There it is. Okay. We'll back it up to the start there, okay? 10:29.
It should be on the 14th.
That's the same one we were looking at. Hold on. Let me close that one. Okay. All right. And this shows Mr. Williams coming through that door at what time?
I got him at 11:55, 58 a.m.
Okay.
on that Sunday, January 14th.
All right. And he's carrying some trash bags, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then did you watch the video to determine the next time that Mr. Williams was back on that floor or back on that hallway?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. And how long was it until he returned to that hallway?
It was about 32 minutes.
Okay. What time did he return to the hallway?
He came back at 12:30.10 a.m. What p.m.? 10:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. I apologize.
And so, Your Honor, I'm playing that at this time, and that shows Mr. Williams coming at 12:30:10, correct?
12:30, correct. I'm returning onto the hallway with what appears to be a pizza bag and other bags in his hand.
Okay. And so he goes, goes through the door closes, okay? And then what time does he reappear in this video?
I got 12:30:27 seconds p.m. So that's about a month.
12:31:27.
That's correct, yeah.
12:31:27. So approximately a minute and 17 seconds later.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm gonna play that segment at this time, Judge. It's on the same track on this USB, but I'm gonna play that segment now. And can you tell what he's doing when he comes through that door?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for a second there, I thought that I muted myself. Whoops. For a second, I thought they went to the hospital together based on this testimony. I thought that one of the police before was basically saying they were both there, but I was mistaken. Because look, he's just him going to the hospital. Would that not give her a window to hide things? But if that were the case, though, if she did take out any trash or anything like that, wouldn't that be on video too? Because where would she have put it, and why wouldn't it have been able to be found in a search if there was any evidence in the house or the apartment?
He actually has a child in his arms, which believes he's baby Jaxton.
Right. And he goes out that door at 12:31.
31.
Okay. And then there's a third segment on the same video file. Is that correct? That shows someone else leaving?
Yes.
Okay. What is the next segment on the video?
The next segment will be at 12:36:40 p.m. and Miss Trinity Poague leaves off the hallway.
Okay. And I'm going to play that segment this time, Your Honor. And that's 12:36:42, correct?
42, correct, yes.
Okay. And then it's back to the beginning. Okay. Were there other entrances or exits by either of those two people to that dormitory on January 14th?
No, sir, it was not.
And you know that because you reviewed all the video, right?
That's correct, yes.
I think that may be all I have at this time, Your Honor, with Chief Lewis. You give me just 1 second to confer.
I think they're gonna go on break, and when they go on break, I'm gonna leave.
I'm doing well.
Good. I've got a couple questions for you. I don't know, you may not know this or not, I'm not sure, but you downloaded all of these videos to assist the GBI in trying to determine some of what happened, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you turned that over to the GBI when you got through with it, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Now, at that time, did you know any of the facts or any information about what had happened other than there'd been a child taken to the hospital with some injuries?
No, sir, I did not.
When you talked to, was it Lieutenant Allen that called you first to tell you about this?
That's correct, yes.
Did he tell you anything at all about what had happened at that time?
No, sir. He just told me that the baby had been brought to the hospital unresponsive. But he didn't tell me exactly what happened to the baby.
Did he tell you if anyone said what had happened to the child when they first brought him to the hospital?
No, sir, he didn't. He handed the phone to Miss Trinity Poague.
Well, let me ask you this. Since you have downloaded the video, are you aware of some of the circumstances concerning this case at all, or is that where you ended, was doing the video?
That's kind of why I ended that, is doing the video.
Were you aware of the 12:30 video that shows Mr. Williams going back into the Oaks on January 14th? At that time, he had been called by Ms. Poague and told that there was an emergency with the child. Were you aware of that?
I wasn't aware when I was downloading the footage, no. But since we had opportunity to look at the case, then yes, I was familiar with kind of what was going on at what point.
So you know that particular set of facts, at least there's some allegations that Ms. Poague had called. The way that Mr. Williams found out that the child was in distress was because Ms. Poague had called him and said you need to come back to, and see about the child, right?
Right, I didn't learn that later. That's
So
right.
you know when Mr. Williams entered the dormitory hallway, he was aware that Ms. Poague thought it was serious enough to come on back and might need some medical attention, correct?
I would assume. I'm not sure.
I'm going to object to go any further. That's not questions in terms of, asking what somebody told him is one thing. Asking him if he knows that he would have had or she would have had this information or that information at that particular time. I mean, there's no way for him to know because he's not that individual. It's hearsay. And
I'm not.
That's what I was about to say. I think that's just hearsay. Like, this is a weird line of questioning, in my opinion.
What he now knows about it compared to at the time. I'm not going to go any further than that part of it.
I'll sustain the objection to the extent that you're asking for any other hearsay information.
I won't be asking hearsay, but I do have one follow-up. Did you find it to be, as you watched that video, and you watched Mr. Williams enter that hallway, knowing that it's potentially an emergency, do you find it unusual to see that he is walking very slowly and doesn't seem to be in a hurry?
objection, Your Honor, is asking the witness to characterize something that is would essentially be a matter that the jury can observe for themselves from the video.
Sustain that objection to him giving an opinion. Any other questions? Any redirect?
No redirect, Judge.
All right. May this witness be excused?
You may be.
All right. You're free to stay or go, Chief. Is everybody still comfortable? Do we have? You want to take one more witness before we break? Do we have a witness?
If it factors into that,
Yes, sir.
that determination, what I will tell the court is the next witness I intend to call is Agent Gibson from GBI.
So that'll be more lengthy witness?
I'm not going to say it's going to take an hour or a half or anything, but it's going to be lengthier than anybody we've had so far because there's a lot of exhibits that will be displayed.
Well, it's 11:45 then. I'm going to go ahead and let you take your lunch break. I'm going to let you go to lunch until 1 o'clock. Please remember my instructions while you're at.
Okay, so here they're going on their lunch break. And so here I think is where I will leave you today. Now, So to kind of recap everything, basically, we are getting into some of the beginning witness testimony, and so far the witness testimony, all we've seen is from some of the police officers related to arriving on scene and investigating the case. But basically, we are watching the trial where Trinity Madison Poague is alleged to have killed a child, a baby, a 1 year old, in like 6 months, 18 months, I believe is the age. And so we are watching the facts of that case and coming to our own conclusions from there. I have not looked into any news coverage of this. I do not know the outcome of the case. I am going to not look that up. I'm only going to just cover this case from the court TV coverage, from the live trial footage, before I do look into other reporting on that case, because I just kind of want to do a reaction without the interpretation of other people, if that makes sense. So I'm doing my initial impressions, initial reaction to this court case as we go in this live stream, kind of reflect on the surrounding environment of these allegations, as well as what the facts of the case are, coming to discover what ends up being the result of this trial, you know. But yeah, I think it's a lot to take in. It's interesting to see the angle that the defense has taken. The prosecution, I really thought they were I didn't understand how all connected at first, so I was like, they're just really all over the place. But now I kind of understand their opening statement more. The defense, and it's like I feel like I could be convinced she didn't do it if the defense had a better argument. You know what I mean? Like, the defense, I feel like, because they don't have an argument and they're grasping at straws, their only argument is basically like, well, he's neglectful as a dad, and so she didn't do it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for saying that, but that's kind of how I feel. I didn't understand, like, nothing they're saying is negating the facts of what the prosecution has laid out so far to me. But we'll see if my mind changes as I look at other evidence as it all comes up. But for me, I'm like, if I'm already swayed so hard in this case, I wonder if it's like the juries are just sitting there like, you are guilty. But also, the defense attorney was sitting there like laughing and joking with his client, and Trinity was just fucking smirking and laughing at part of the case, and I felt like that does not look good for her, especially in front of the jury, because anybody who thinks she's guilty is gonna look at her smirking and be like, she has no remorse, she's not taking this seriously. So I really feel like, I'm like, if, you know, he's definitely not helping her win her case. If she has a valid case at all, or a valid legal argument, he sucks ass, in my opinion. But that's just me. I'm not an attorney. It's just my opinion from the outside looking in. But yeah, I'm going to go do shit. I have life to live. If I can finish this tonight, maybe I will do a late night stream. If I don't do it tomorrow night after work, I'll probably pick this up again the next day. But we'll see. What I would like to do is finish the second half of this live stream tomorrow after work, and then that way I could spend like all day on Tuesday on hopefully getting the whole day 2 covered. Maybe we'll see if I can make that happen, but I don't know, no promises. All right, well, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Cuff You, for joining the chat today. I do not know why the fuck it's not showing me that you were ever here, and that makes me feel gaslit. I'm gonna try copying and pasting this link in again. Maybe I should have done that earlier, because wouldn't that be funny? But then if this doesn't normally show up, if that's the case. No, yeah, it's crazy. It's like not showing up at all. Anyway, I don't know why it doesn't do that, and I feel gaslit every fucking time. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate you guys. I will be back when I am back, and we will get to what we're getting to when it happens. Thank you for your time. I hope y'all have a good night, and bye.
Thanks for watching. Join the loyalty program at noladeathchild.com/loyalty and check in during live streams to get points for rewards.